Welcome, 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 everybody. We are ready for Belgium, and it is, of course, the 12th round of the 100% season, and we are here in, as Young Lights has retired and left the session. Brilliant stuff, so that's helpful. Right then, we are here in the Ardennes Forest for Spa-Francorchamps, And welcome along then to the stream, then welcome along to the qualifying, as unfortunately for Young Lights, he's not going to be able to take part in qualifying. And there's a man jumping around, I didn't know if you saw that, but there's a man jumping above the pit garages there, which is interesting, which is, yes, odd indeed. But there we go, we are ready to go, and there we go. Good stuff indeed. What a start. Right then, Zekwaz is taking the scenic route, literally then through the Ardennes Forest, as he is in the Williams. Then he is on the back straight, the Keble straight, then down towards the Lacombe chicane, I should say. Then good stuff indeed. I'm trying to get the caller names right, and struggling, to be fair. So there we go. Welcome along to the stream now. Blair's video channel, or Gordo, has said, bonjour, wet race at the start. Goodness me. Why is it always rain in 100%? It doesn't rain in 100% all the time. It's just Farf. But I think actually when Farf didn't host the lobby, we didn't have rain, and now we've got rain again then, so never mind. As Equaz then taking the esports line, which I don't think is going to be that effective then for the Williams car, unfortunately, then, especially on an outlap. But there we go then. Not complaining, says Gordo then in the comment section. So that is the status quo. Then we've got rain at the beginning of the race, potentially for the full race. We are not sure, but we will find out as we get ourselves through qualifying. 16 minutes left then before we get ourselves into the race. And that's when we will see what treacherous conditions await then for the 44 laps around this circuit. Then full distance, of course, for the 100% league. Then realistic performance cars, if you hadn't noticed. And there we go. Then we have got, and I think some people were expecting that there was going to be a patch then where the car performance changed, but there wasn't. Well, there was a patch, but there wasn't any changes. So there we go. Unfortunately for Young Lights, they're not able to take part in the qualifying session. I'm not quite sure if that was a glitch or whether he just retired early on in the session and left the session, but he is no longer in the session anyway, so that's brilliant stuff indeed. Equaz then takes us off away then down towards the La Source turn 1. Young Lights has rejoined, but unfortunately not able to take part in qualifying, so maybe going to do a last to first here, or a last to what challenge is the question. But that's what Young Lights is going to have to do in the race. Then for 15 minutes he's going to have to sit tight in the garage. But here comes Equaz then up the hill then towards the Keble straight then once again then for some DRS, and this time on a flying lap then for the Williams driver, then heading down towards the Lacombe chicane, and looking good indeed for the Williams. Of course he's going to go purple in sector 1 because he's the first man to set a time in sector 1 on a flying lap then, as we head through the chicane now as well, keeping it in track limits then. Is tight indeed, but he's done a very good job there, and Zekwaz, good stuff, as we head into the well, I can't remember what corner that is, but the corner of no name then coming up, and this is where it can get a bit dodgy then as well, especially with the gravel track that's now been laid down there. You used to be able to run off then onto some nice tarmac, but not anymore, as we head through Pouillon now. Flat out then in these cars then on this game, and looking good indeed then for the Williams car so far then into sector 2, as now we've got one more chicane to negotiate before we get ourselves into sector 3 then to finish off the final sector of the lap, as we see what Equaz can do then to set the timing sheets alight then here in the first lap of qualifying. Then 14.8 then the first split, or the second split in sector 2 that is, as we go up towards the Blanchemont corners and head into the bus stop chicane then to finish off the first flying lap in anger. Then the ERS light flashing away then on the back of that Williams, so he's already run out a bit of battery then throughout this long lap, the longest lap on the calendar as well, of course, so that is why the battery might be taking a bit of a toll then around these qualifying laps especially. And here comes Equaz up to the line. What's it going to be? It's a 43.0 then in the Williams, then puts himself on pole position as it stands then, of course, the first man to cross the line in this session so far. Ginner's on a 43.2 then on the medium compound tyres. Pretty good stuff indeed. Sicker's Muck then coming through Blanchemont then in towards the bus stop chicane and in the Ferrari. Let's see what the Ferrari driver can do, in this last couple of quarters to finish off his first flying lap then of the session. 13 minutes left of the qualifying. 44.6 for Sicker's Muck, puts himself P3 then. Vintage is starting a lap then. Where is the rest of the field? We've just had R2 Beat jump up to a 43.8 then. That's good stuff indeed. Here comes Nigel then reserving in the Haas car, and let's see what the Haas driver can do then in this session. Of course, he had driven in the Haas in silver, I believe, when he had a very successful season indeed alongside Farf then in the Haas. Unfortunately, well, less said about that, the better. Then the good stuff. 49.1 for Nigel. Not sure that was his best lap time, but we'll wait and see. Then Vintage coming through into sector 2. Now, where is the rest of the field? We've got Vessia further ahead, but we've got some more action ahead. We've got Kick Sauber of Legend, and unfortunately invalidating his time going again now. Swanshanks across the line. Then Swanshanks P4 with a 44.3. Brilliant stuff indeed. Displaces his Ferrari teammate down to P5. But now they've both been displaced because Coop has done a 43.7 and puts himself into P3. once again then for the Williams, and Williams looking strong here in qualifying, and they've been looking strong in the constructors standings as well. And they are currently top of the standings then, ahead of Aston Martin, sorry, other way around then. Aston Martin are ahead, but Williams are very close in P2. Speaking of P2, then Ginner is in P2 on the medium compound tyres, which is pretty good stuff indeed. Vessier up into P5 with a 43.9, then puts himself ahead of both the Ferrari pair as well. Astra John with a P8 with a 44.999. So call that number if you've got any emergencies. But only emergency we're gonna have this night or tonight is going to be, oh goodness me, that's an emergency indeed for Vintage. Yes, only emergencies then are that we're not going to run out of time then, having watched this fantastic Grand Prix unfolding in front of our very eyes. But there we go then, down the Kemmel Straight then goes Kiki then, I think trying to get a distant tow from his teammate potentially there. Yeah, that is Kiki, that is. Yeah, I thought I got the racing balls mixed up then. But Astrojon's getting out of the way then of his teammate. Ginger Age unfortunately has invalidated his time. Potentially can go again then. Legend is going again though. Let's see what Legend is up to then in the kick Sauber, then coming through into Sector 3. And 21.5 then, I'm not sure if that's a competitive sector for him unfortunately there, so I think he might be coming back into the pit lane. Yellow flags are fluttering. I think there's a few people out of fuel around this on their in laps now, coming back to the pit lane after their first attempts here in qualifying. Good stuff indeed then, and brilliant stuff so far then. It looks a bit gloomy out ahead, but I think that's just for the Ray. Oh goodness me, what was that in the background? That was Kiki then, almost into the, well, he was in the gravel trap, wasn't he? No, it was Astra John then in the gravel trap then. He's on an in lap then, so I'm not quite sure why you're pushing that hard, so then, especially on that sort of lap. Then here comes Cam coming through into Pouillon now, then reserving in the Haas as well then, alongside Nigel. And Mark Smith, or Ginner, has said hi all then, and Ginner then looking pretty comfortable then in P2 after that time then that was set on the medium compound tyres. He's now switched to a set of soft compound tyres in the pit lane, but that medium lap I should say then was looking pretty strong out there. And here comes Cam, a 15.2 in Sector 2, then that's purple then for him as he comes around into Blanchimont very shortly now as well, then powering along towards the back straight, then down towards the bus stop chicane then for the Haas. The ERS light flashing away again as he saves a bit of battery then going through there, and now into the last two corners of the lap then to finish off the first lap then for New Zealand Cam here tonight as he crosses into the final couple of corners in. Let's see what it's going to be across the line, and it is a 43.3, puts himself P3 then in the Haas. Brilliant stuff indeed then, looking very strong in the Haas then tonight is the New Zealand Cam from Birmingham. So yes, let's make it that way you will. But there we go then, as he's been displaced by R2B, because R2B's gone again and done a 43.1 then. He's less than the 10th of the way then from Equaz, taking that pole position away then. Of course R2B last week's race winner then, and of course has been closing the gap then to the race championship leader of Equaz as well, who is currently leading the way by only a few points now, because RTB has been on a mission then in the last few races. So there we go then, Gordo up into P6 then in the other Aston Martin. So Aston Martin looking to carry on their championship or constructors championship fight as well. Looking good indeed then. Kiki then is invalidated, unfortunately. Sick as muck then coming across the line, has just finished the lap I think there, so he is done and dusted, whereas somebody else has jumped up the order. I can't see too much because there's all sorts of yellow flags fluttering away, but Ginger Age is up into the top 10, which is scary stuff indeed for those who are around him. And there he is then. Unfortunately he's not changed his helmet like he said he would, so there we go then. It's clashing of colours then, pink and orange for the McLaren driver then, so very well done indeed then in his first outing in qualifying. Oh god, that was close. Not quite sure why he needed to be that close for Favre, but he decided to go that close anyway. He has invalidated his time, so he's not going to be able to set a time regardless of that. So that was very close indeed to being a catastrophic incident between Kiki and the Alpine of Favre then, as we got ourselves settled then for the next attempts in qualifying, I believe. There is a Haas coming through. That I think that's New Zealand Cam coming back into the pit lane after finishing off his lap of a 43.399. Very good stuff indeed. Evening all from Mushrooms. Nigel said cars are not equal to each other, and no they're not. That's why it's called realistic performance. So that is they are realistically based. Well, not realistically based really, because it's based on what Codemasters set the cars up at the beginning of the game. So the Haas is the third worst car, I think it is. So it's it goes Kick Sauber is the worst, and then it goes Williams, and then the Haas I believe, and then we've got Alpine, Racing Bulls, Aston Martin, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull. I'm amazing. I managed to remember all of that somehow. Goodness me, no idea how, but there we are. So right then, we come into the lap back again then for Cordo once again then, as Gina has started off another lap as well. Then Gina will come back to the rest of the field, because Gina is on a lap then coming through into sector 3, and he is on a flying lap on the soft compound tyres, this time 4 tenths up on his previous time. That will put him into the 42s as it stands here, and that would put him on pole position if he can hold on to it. But he can only just improve into sector 3, because it's pretty much just a straight line and keeping the power down. Oh dear, he's had a bit of a problem then over the curb then, but nonetheless, cracking on then. Good stuff indeed. As into the bus stop chicane then for the Mercedes driver. Then all he needs to do is keep it together then around this corner then, and he will be on pole position then. Here he comes up to the line. It's a 42.7 to get himself on pole position here for the Mercedes driver. Brilliant stuff indeed from Jenner, looking pretty strong in qualifying tonight. Then he is currently just under 3 tenths away, or ahead, I should say, of Equaz in P2. Looking pretty strong indeed then for the Mercedes driver. Then unfortunately for Gordo, he's had a problem somewhere, because he's just slowed down, abandoned his flying lap then as well. Unfortunately for the Aston Martin driver. Then Vintage heading down the Kemmel Straight then into Lacombe. And he has got himself through there very nicely indeed. Once again, a pink helmet then, clashing with his Red Bull colours, but there we go. Nigel is on another lap then. Nigel is going through into sector 3 once again, and looking to improve on his 49.1. Then he is currently 2 seconds up. Then that will put him much further up the order, I should say. And then that will put him into the 46s just about then, and looking to gain some more time then through sector 3 as well here for the Haas driver as well into the Blanchimont corner. Confident for the win tonight, says Ginger Rage. Goodness me. Yes, right then. There is such a thing as overconfidence there, but nonetheless, we will crack on. Nigel then coming around the bus stop chicane then to finish off his lap time. What's it going to be for Nigel? It's a 46.9, puts himself into P14 as it stands then. Good stuff indeed for Nigel, as we've got Ginner back out on circuit, but Ginner's coming back to the pit lane now after finishing his his second attempt, sorry. Sick as much having a bit of an issue trying to keep himself on the grey stuff, but there we go. Even all from Styles as well. Then Styles yet to set a lap in qualifying, but that's just typical, because he never comes out in qualifying, so that's great. So here we are. Right then, out laps for oh dear, Sickers might have been having a few issues there, because he seems to have almost gone into the wall, looks like there. So we'll stay on. I'll stay off of him for now, because it seems like he's going to be in a bit of danger. Vintage has I think finished a lap, then a 44.8 then for the Vintage into P12 now for the Red Bull driver. Good stuff indeed. Astra John has abandoned his, or he's invalidated his time, so unfortunately not going to be able to improve on his next attempt. Then Nigel coming back into the pit lane. I think he's got time to get himself back in the box and go again then for another round of qualifying. 5 drivers not setting a time at all, looks like, so far. Serious Mushroom, Reflection, Hungry Stars, and of course Young Light's already out of qualifying. Really, very boring from them indeed. So there we go. Right then, Kiki then is starting off a lap. We'll have to, I think we'll ride on board with Kiki, because he is the man who is on a mission at least, and he's trying his best in qualifying. Currently P11, and can he improve on a 44.5? We'll find out as he goes through into Radion and up Eau Rouge, and all the other ones as well. Eau Rouge first, isn't it, and then Radion, and down the Kemmel Straight. Of course, here's some DRS to play with as well, as there's a Ferrari just getting out of the way there as well as we head down towards the Lacombe chicane. No, Nigel, says Mark Smith. Right then, evening all from R2 Beat as well. Then good stuff indeed. Then evening Styles, Mushroom and Styles of Chickens, says Swan Shanks. There we go. Then that has been confirmed. Right then, brilliant stuff indeed. Then Swan Shanks currently P10, so he's looking pretty good at the moment in the Ferrari. Then good stuff indeed. And here comes Kiki. Then can he displace Swan Shanks out of the top 10 on this lap? Then for the Racing Bull driver. Then heading through Pouillon now. Let's have a look and see what his sector 2 time is saying. Then as he crosses into sector 3 very shortly. First through the chicane though as well, negotiating it nicely enough indeed, making sure you don't go on the curbs there, because that can be a bit dangerous on this game, and very nicely done indeed from the Racing Bull driver then as well, heading into sector 3, sorry. He is almost 0.3 of a second up, and that would put him in the range of the top Ferrari then of Sickers, about currently in P8 as it stands, so we'll have to wait and see what he can do then in the latter part of sector 3. Styles has said Mushroom is a chicken, so there's a bit of chicken talk going on in the comment section. There's a Red Bull as well having a bit of an issue trying to get that's a good way to get himself in the pits. Kiki has abandoned his time then coming back into the pit lane as well then, so he's right behind Vintage. Oh god, right then, Kiki has a bit keen to get himself in the pit lane, let's just put it that way. But he has made it without any issues. Good stuff indeed. Then yellow flags fluttering for Swanshanks. Then he is getting himself ready to start off another lap here in the Ardennes Forest, then around the bus stop chicane to put the power down and go, go, go then for the final run in qualifying. Ginger Age is right behind him, so that's going to be scary enough. That's going to motivate Swanshanks to get himself through the lap very quickly indeed. So we go into, oh my goodness me, look at all the traffic there as well. God, oh my God, then Swanshanks needs to be very careful then. Oh my goodness me, that is close enough to the the Aston Martin there, to almost take his whiskers off then as they go through into the Kemmel Straight then. The McLaren gets out of the way, the Kick Sauber gets out of the way, goodness me, and Ginger Age then is going to be coming through this lot as well as we go down the Kemmel Straight once again then. I think everyone's managed to get themselves out of the way then of these drivers coming through. New Zealand Cam has started the lap, then he is going through the Kemmel Straight as well then, so hopefully this traffic is aware, as unfortunately with Ginger Age he's invalidated his time then somewhere. I'm not quite sure what's happened then. Oh dear, he's having a bit of an issue trying to get himself around the circuit now, but hopefully he is composed and collected once again then for the start of the Grand Prix in a few minutes time. Styles has said haha, so there we go. Right then, so Swanshanks is on a lap then. Unfortunately with Ginger Age he is not on a lap anymore. Well, he could be on a lap. Actually, he might have time to get himself back to the start finish line before the checkered flag falls to go again here in this qualifying session, and he's got enough ERS to play with. Has he got enough fuel is the question. Cam then is coming through the order then. Let's hope that everyone gets himself out of the way of Cam, because Cam is charging through into sector 3, but unfortunately hasn't validated his time then into P4, into sector 3, sorry. It's going to be staying P4 unless he can go again then, but again that fuel light this time is flashing then on that Haas car, so unfortunately I think that's done and dusted then for Cam then in this qualifying session. Here comes Swanshanks across the line. What can Swanshanks do? And it is a 43.2 then, improved by 10th of a second to P9 and ahead of Ginger Age, who is able to start off another lap here, which is pretty good stuff indeed. Vintage has retired. I think he's in the pit lane. So he is done and dusted in qualifying then for Vintage. P12 at best then, as Ginger Age has been able to start off another lap then, which is good stuff indeed. Then Swanshanks crawling down the main, well, not down the main straight, but crawling down the straight then towards Radion and towards the Kemmel Straight, has got out of the way then of everyone coming through on their flying laps here. Sick as muck. I don't think we'll have time to get himself onto a new lap. The same for Kiki then, the same for, oh no, we've had Astrojon who's crossed the line to start a lap then, but unfortunately not the same for Sick as Muck then, or for Kiki potentially. Or can he make it to the line? Sick as Muck might make it to the line here. He hasn't, unfortunately, so that's a big shame indeed. Then Sick as Muck then, unfortunately P8 then at best as well, then Kiki then P11 at best as well then, but we'll have to wait and see then what the final attempts in qualifying are going to be like then as we head down into the final laps then of this qualifying session. Then Sirius Mushroom has made it out of the garage as well then, brilliant stuff indeed, and looking to get himself a time on the board at least. We've got a Williams of Coop, then Coop is back into the pit lane then, so he's not going to be any higher than P5 unfortunately in this qualifying. Not sure if he just had an issue on that lap then or had some sort of other problems, but that is him done and dusted in qualifying here. Then Nigel is the next man to cross the line in this qualifying session, then to end off the qualifying session here as well then in Belgium, as we head through Blanchemont once again then in towards the bus stop chicane for the Haas car, then flying down towards that bus stop chicane, late on the brakes then, heavy on the brakes as well then as we go into the chicane then for the final time in qualifying. And across the line then for Nigel, what's it going to be? A 45.3, puts himself P14 ahead of Legend. But unfortunately, Legend is looking to improve as well. Then we've had somebody else jump out the order. It's Mushroom then with the 42.7, then almost on pole position then for Mushroom. It is one lap attempt then. He is only 2,000s away then from pole position then is the Mushroom. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then R2 beat P3. Equaz coming through now. Can he improve then? And Jinner's gone even faster with a 42.6. Then here comes Equaz. Can he take away that pole position? Not quite. He's onto the front row though. Ahead of Mushroom now by only 11,000 a second then. Legend jumps up to P7. Then Gordo P8 is back in the pit lane. Vessia P9. Ginger Age has got himself an improvement then up into P10 then ahead of both the Ferraris as Swanshanks is cruising back to the pit lane. Unfortunately for Swanshanks, I don't think he's realised that everyone has finished their laps then. Favre hasn't finished his lap actually, but he has been blocked by Swanshanks there. So that was, yes. I'm not quite sure what Swanshanks is doing in this qualifying, but there we are. So he's, well, I think he kind of ruined Favre's only a qualifying lap there as well. So nonetheless, that is that then. Well, brilliant stuff indeed then. Right, we'll run through the classification very shortly. But there we go then. Ginner on pole position with a 42.693. He is, well, he's not, less than a tenth away then from for Equaz in P2. Mushroom then in P3. Brilliant stuff indeed then from the McLaren driver of Mushroom. Mushroom and Ginger Rage both have good qualifying in Hungary last week, and looking to even power on from that then from last week, then looking even better here in Belgium tonight then. So that is your top three then. I'm always calm and composed, says Ginger Rage. Then, of course, that's why Ginger Rage, his name on PSN is Ginger Rage, not Ginger Composed. But there we go. Then Ginger takes pole position. Equaz P2, then Serious Mushroom P3, R2 Beat P4, Cam in P5, Coop P6, then Legend P7, Gordo in P8, then Vessia P9. Ginger Rage rounds off the top 10 here. Sick as Muck then and Swanshanks, both the Ferraris, P11 and 12, then Astrojon and Kiki in the Racing Bulls, P13 and 14. Red Bull of Vintage P15, Nigel P16, Hungry Stars didn't get a time in, neither did Young Lights, Farf or Reflection, and starting at the back of the field. I'm expecting the win tonight. Now, Ginger, says Gordo in the comment section. Right then, that is going to be interesting stuff indeed. And it is raining to start off the Grand Prix, at least. But first off, I forgot we need to have a nice word from our lovely sponsors, so bear with us 1 second. Right then, like I said, it's a bit rainy. We have got, of course, whilst we're waiting, then we'll have a quick word from our lovely sponsors. And of course, if you're interested in buying yourself some ALR merchandise, then please do. Of course, all links are in the description below for all of our all of the channels, all of the links, and all of the websites and whatnot that we support, and of course that are supporting ALR as well then. So yeah, get your links to the ALR merch, then check out 3D track prints then for some nice wall arts and keychains, that sort of thing. And of course, if you are in a charitable mind as well, then support our charity then that is sponsoring us then through this season. Of course, Mind, Mental Health and Wellbeing in the links in the description as well then. So intermediate compound tyres then to start us off then for this Grand Prix. It looks very light indeed then, it says Gordo in the comment section, so potentially it could, we might see it start to dry up then. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll have to find out then during the Grand Prix itself then. So we'll stay tuned then, because this could get exciting. There could be a bit of a strategy call then, a strategic race indeed then, in the element, of course, of the most powerful circuit on the calendar, I think, is with Belgium. So a power-hungry circuit then, and also now a strategic oriented circuit as well then, with these weather conditions as well, playing a big factor then to start off the Grand Prix, at least then. Intermediate compound tyres for all 20 drivers then on the grid, as we get ourselves ready to start off the race then. 44 laps then as we go through the field then. But there we are then, only a light spit, says Gordon then. I'm expecting the win for Ginger, and there we go then. Right. Well, we're going to have to negotiate then a bit of a damp track to start off with. Then, if it's going to dry out, then how quickly will it dry out is the other question. Then, is anybody going to dive into the pits at the end of lap 1 then for some dry compound tyres? I don't think it's too dry enough then for that at this time of the race. But of course, the track is such a long lap then that potentially it could be an option then if it starts to dry out immediately. We'll have to wait and see then when we get ourselves the 5 red lights are on. But there we go then. Ginner taking us around then into sector 3 now to finish off the formation lap and get ourselves ready then for this epic Grand Prix that's coming up then. 44 laps, and you're going to be starting off in the wet, then potentially switching to the dries later on in the race. So we'll have to find out then how it's going to unfold here in Spa. Very slippery, says Gordo, so he's busy typing away then whilst he's trying to do the formation lap as well then. So unfortunately, he's got some intel there for us, but it seems a bit too wet out there at the moment for any dry compound tyres to be fitted onto these cars, and everyone filtering onto the pit lane now. I think potentially the rain has got heavier since we started the formation lap, actually. So, oh my God, as Jinner then having a few problems then trying to get himself lined up on the grid, and there we are. Right then, so we're going to have a nice angle at least this time for the start of the race, and we will get everyone lined up on the grid then to get on with this Grand Prix now, as well as just waiting for Reflection to get himself into his grid slot then, and we can crack on then for this epic Belgian Grand Prix. Right then, here we go then in towards La Source then. The red lights are on then. The 5 red lights are out then. And away we go then for the Belgian Grand Prix here in the 100% lead then, heading down towards turn 1. And what a great start indeed for Equaz. And he's got the lead of the Grand Prix in towards turn 1. Jinner's lost out then down to P2, I should say. Goodness me. We'll switch to the position changes and see what's going on here, because everyone's got themselves through, I think, unscathed. Have they just about then? RTB's got himself past Mushroom into P3 then, into Radion and La Source. Sorry, not La Source. We've gone through La Source already then, into Radion. And yes, RTB's got himself ahead then into the podium places now as well then. All sorts of anarchy in the background. I think everyone's got themselves through unscathed as well. Then Young Lights has not got a setup on, so that's going to be a problem for him. Nigel then has got himself up into P15 ahead of both the Ferraris who've dropped down a bit. Unfortunately then into the Lacombe chicane. Then there's contact in the background, I think there. Farf and Young Lights battling away. Then Farf has got himself a bit of a battle on the cards. Then this time 5 places gained for Farf. Young Lights has gained 5 places as well then, as we head down towards the next right hand, and then trying to get that car slowed down in the braking zone, especially with those cars ahead of you, is difficult stuff indeed, but he's made it very nicely indeed as well. Good stuff indeed. Difficult starts then for the Red Bulls and for the Ferraris, but everyone else has got themselves away pretty cleanly and pretty much okay as well. Then heading through into Pouillon now as well onto the first lap. Then of course let's just wait and see if the track is going to start to dry out or not then. But at the moment it's staying very much intermediate compound tyres in my eyes, as far as I can tell from the commentary box, that is. But of course the drivers might have a bit of a different feeling, but they will be the ones who are calling the shots and in terms of the strategy anyway. So don't have to worry about me trying to pick the strategy for you, so that's all good. Jinner then losing out then on the first, well, before the first turn that was, but now on the fight then back for the race lead. Then Ginger Age's got himself past Astrojon then into P10. Has he? Yes, he has then. Good stuff indeed. And Kiki coming through as well then into Blanchimont. Oh my goodness me, almost sideways through there as we go into the bus stop chicane for the first time. And yeah, people just taking it easy through that complex of corners. Then Cooper's trying to get himself past at Vess here. Note there's contact there between the two of them, but they've got themselves through. Equaz then has taken the fastest lap. Of course, the first lap of the race has been completed. It's a long lap around here, especially in the wet conditions as well. Then so now, and there's no DRS in these conditions either as well. Then Farf and Astrodron, then Kiki as well, going around the outside of his teammate then into the first turn. Has he got the position this time is the question. We head down the hill then towards Eau Rouge and Radion, then thinking better of it then into the hill, or up the hill I should say then for oh no, Astrodron has lost out then. He has got himself has been passed, sorry, by Kiki, and Kiki now lining up a move then for that 10th place then on Ginger Rage. And as we go down towards the Lacombe chicane, then Legend has got himself past Cam. Has he? No, not quite. Then they're still there. They're side by side through the chicane. And Gordo is watching this with a watching brief, because it's, oh god, oh that's going to be spicy indeed. Thankfully no issues then. Gordo's been passed by Coop then as we go into the next right hand, and they're still side by side. There's contact again between the two of them. There's no space being given between the two of them either, as oh dear, Gordo's gone over the curb then, and that's going to be costly indeed. He's lost out to Vessia, and now Kiki's got himself past Ginger Age, and now on the back of the Aston Martin heading down towards Pouillon as we go through now as well. Then Ginger Rage then has lost out to Kiki, but still doing a good job then, fighting along then still for the top 10 positions. Then Farf and Young Lights are fighting away as well. Young Lights has gone off the circuit there, but he has unfortunately lost out to Farf then into sector 2, and Farf now up into 13th place, 6 places gained then for the Alpine driver. Then on the intermediate compound tyres, Astrodron has dropped a place. No, he hasn't. He's dropped a place to Kiki, but he has still gained a place then from his starting position. So that is good stuff indeed then. Right, as we go through onto lap 2, then Gino is gaining all over the back of that Williams car then through into Blanchimont. Can he make a move then into the bus stop chicane then? Is it going to be a late lunge, or is he going to bide his time then? He's biding his time, which is good stuff indeed then. Favre has been repassed by Young Lights, and as we go towards the bus stop chicane, Sickersmuck has got himself past Nigel then as well into the into Blanchimont, then into the bus stop now as well. Yellow, oh no, it was a ghosted car, sorry, it's not yellow flagged. There seems to be a ghosted car there somewhere. So that's interesting stuff indeed. Nigel and Swanshanks then battling away as well. Then as we go into lap 3. So far, so good. As we head on to lap 3, oh goodness me, I thought there was some. There must have been some sort of bollards jumping up there. Hungry Styles and Reflection in a battle. Then as we go through La Source, then into down towards Radion. Then as we head up the hill, then very shortly, and I think they're going to be status quo then as it stands. Out in front, here comes Jinner. Then Jinner's on the attack then for the race lead. Then he's got the race lead into Lacombe, and he has got the position then back into the race lead where he qualified in pole position, but of course lost out then on the first lap. Then, but he's now got himself back into the lead of the Grand Prix, and now trying to power away then from the Williams of Equaz. We've got R2 Beat then in close contention. Serious Mushroom then 2 seconds back, but he's got a comfortable gap then back to New Zealand Can of 1.3 seconds, I should say. So as it stands, he's not under too much pressure then for the Mushroom, as Hungry Stars has picked up the first penalty of the evening, then going through into on the exit of the Lacombe chicane into Bouillon now, and Legend then is trying to catch up to Can. Then he's got he's got Coop and Vess here for company as well. Gordo starting to struggle, I think, in these wet conditions then compared to the 3 drivers ahead of him now, and trying to get himself recomposed, and potentially when it does dry out then Gordo might come back into it, because of course we might see some drivers then preferring a dry setup then if they think it's going to dry out then in the race. Then later on then potentially we'll see some switcheroos then in terms of the pace then if we see the switch on to dry compound tyres, that is, but we'll have to wait and see if that's a big if or not, because at the moment it seems to be raining quite heavily, and it's quite well, it's not too heavy actually, to be fair, but it's quite well, what is it called, regular, I suppose you could call it. I'm not quite sure. Young Lights then all over the back of Astra John then as we go into the bus stop chicane. Then late break then from Astra John to try and hold on to the position then, but he's gone deep then, and Young Lights might try and do the switcheroo then through the bus stop onto lap 4 we go then. Not quite then for Young Lights then, but he's doing a good job then without no setup as well. Then he's done a fantastic job actually without any setup, especially in these conditions as well then, as we head through into La Source once again, then down the hill once again as well. Then out in front then Equaz is all over the back then of Jinner, then to try and repeat the favour then down towards the Lacombe chicane. And R2 Beat then is in close proximity as well. Look at the top 3 there in the podium places, and they are all separated by less than half a second, I should say. Half a tenth would be quite dramatic, but half a second then so far. Young Lights and Astra John are in a fight as well. Then down the Kennel Straight then towards the Lacombe chicane. Then Young Lights breaks earlier then, but it's going to go for the switchback then up and under then for Young Lights. Then can he hold on to it? Then he's got the inside for the next right-hander. Has he got the position is the question. Then he's gone wide a bit slightly there, but now he's got the power down. He's still down there on the inside there from the Racing Bull. Then has he got the position this time? It's going to be tight indeed, side by side through there indeed, and brilliant racing it looks like, as I think Astrodron is trying to hold on. He's held on to the position then, and Farf has come in then and put clout in them both. Right, and then down towards Pouillon now as well, then side by side through here as well. Goodness me, Young Lights has got off the track then, oh god, and Farf then is trying to put his nose in then, and he's got his nose in then, and he's got ahead of Young Lights now as well then. Oh dearie me, and yes, there we go then. That is how you don't go for a move. But yeah, there we are. Thankfully both of them survived that, but that was looking pretty close indeed, and they've lost a lot of time as well because of that as well then. But there we are. Right then, Kiki then trying to get himself after Gordon, then Ginger Age is holding on to the Racing Bull of Kiki for the time being as well then, heading down towards Blanchimont then for the 4th time now. Here comes Vess here on the attack then. Can he get himself a move then for P7 into the bus stop chicane, then diving down the inside? Looks like he's going to go for the move then. Yes, he is. He's got the move, and is he going to go? Oh, he's going to go for the move on Legend as well then, but not quite then. We've still got the Coop there. Coop's still there. Hoop's still there, and Vess has got off the circuit slightly. He has got himself back on then, but unfortunately losing out to Coop then as well. And Gordo, oh goodness me. Gordo's gone for the move then down the inside into La Source. Then has he got the move on the traction though, on the exit of the corner? Yes, he has, I think, then in the Aston Martin, up into P8 then. It's very close indeed then in these wet conditions, as you can see. Any slight error, then any slight mistake, then even if you're trying to go for an overtake, then it can be costly then and lose your place then instead of gaining your place as well. Then as we head down the Camel Straight once again, then the top three status quo as it stands, then separated by 0.3 of a second each. Serious Mushroom is almost 3 seconds back then. New Zealand can then try to stay with the Mushroom as we go through the Lacombe chicane. Then once again, then Legend then is 1.2 seconds back. Then Coop, Gordo and Vessia then for company right behind the Kick Sauber as we go into Sector 2, sliding his way around the corner then is Gordo. Goodness me, that is not going to be too good for your tyres, but there we are. Ginger Rage and Kiki then trying to catch up in the background as well. Then Farf now 3 seconds behind, but of course has got himself released now from the battle of Young Lights and Astra John then, who dropped behind Sick as Muck there somewhere as well. Goodness me, then the first 5 laps of action around it. We haven't even finished 5 laps, to be fair, as we go through into Pouillon once again then. Brilliant stuff indeed then so far from all 20 drivers then putting on a show here tonight. Then Vintage has had an issue somewhere. He's dropped off the back of the field for the time being. Hopefully he can get himself back underway then back in the fight. Then Reflection up 4 places and has gained on the Ferrari Swanshanks, Nigel in the Haas then, and both the Red Bulls as well as it stands. And here comes Coop then on the attack then down towards Blanchimont. Then he's using up a lot of battery here to try and get himself past Legend. He's side by side with Legend then as we go into the corner then. Oh my goodness me, then he's almost drifting it through the corner then is Legend, as Gordo is waiting in close proximity as well. And Farf has got a 3-second penalty then as well. Goodness me, there's all sorts of action here. Gordo's trying to shove his way through then. Gordo's got himself up into P7 then, and Coop then has lost out then to the Aston Martin driver as well. Then here we go then on to lap 6 now. And yeah, my goodness me, then there's all sorts of action then. And Vessia, oh my god, late on the brakes there, has got the position then, I think just about. And oh my god, it's close indeed. And they're going to go side by side, I think, through here. And they're going to go side by side then up towards. I know Vessia's got the position. Then he has got the move then up into Eau Rouge and Radion, and now up into P8 as well. Then for the Alpine driver, then good stuff indeed. Then Farf picks up a penalty. Then Young Lights has picked up the penalty as well, as we go on to the Camel Straight once again. And these two then still carrying on their fight. It looks like, I think Young Lights then with the default setup has got a bit more straight line speed than the Alpine as we go into the Lacombe chicane then. And Young Lights is back ahead then up into P12 now for the Green Machine then, looking to try and get on now. 3 seconds but still to Ginger Rage then, so the gap hasn't extended too much, but Ginger Rage has had a bit of a problem then. He's lost out then to Kiki a bit, but Kiki's now joined this queue that's formed behind Legend then as well. Then Legend's gone wide, and now Gordo could be released here. Can he get himself ahead then? Yes he can. Then into Pouillon, yes he's got himself ahead then, and now Legend is in there as well. Then Legend's lost out then to the Aston Martin. Coop has gone around the outside, down the inside, sorry, of Vessia, and got himself up into P8. And now Kiki, I thought Kiki was going to go for a lunge there as well. Then goodness me, we saw Farf had a bit of an issue with that, and it didn't work out for him then too much. But now Kiki then, I think, very wise to that situation then. And this group then, this battling pack then behind Legend for P7 then, well, behind Gordo now for P6. But Gordo's just got himself ahead of the Kick Sauber then, and looking to power on then. New Zealand Cam has got himself past Serious Mushroom then into Blanchimont. And yes, he has done up into P4 now for Cam then in the Haas. Good stuff indeed then. Serious Mushroom looking to come back at him then into the bus stop chicane, but not quite for the McLaren driver. Then he's down to P5, but he's not too far behind. Equaz then has got himself the fastest lap of the race in the top 3, sprinting off in the distance at this stage, and looking very strong indeed then for the Mercedes, the Williams and the Aston Martin of Ginner, Equaz and R2 Beat. So far so good then for the top 3. Mushroom needs to try and stay with Cam then. Can he get himself back in contention for that P4 position? Then Legend is losing time then to Gordo. Gordo's powering off ahead then in the distance, then down towards Eau Rouge and Radion as well. Then almost a second gap back to the Kick Sauber. Is going to be under pressure from Coop, from Vessia, from Kiki, from Ginger Rage, and potentially Young Lights and Farf then are coming with them as well, as is Sick as Muck, Astra John and Reflection. So there's quite a bit of a queue forming then from P7 down to P16 as it stands. And here we are then. I think the rain has started. I think the rain has actually stopped. So there we are then. Sick as Muck then trying to make a move then on the Alpine of Farf then into the Lacombe chicane. Has got the position then up into P13 and ahead of Farf for the time being now. But yeah, I think the rain has stopped now. Potentially we might see quite a long lap here as well. Potentially we might see, oh god, there's contact between the two of them as we go through the next right-hander. Then there's still contact there, and we go through the next right-hander then. And yes, like I said, Unfortunately, it's not American racing. It's not Rubbin is racing in Formula One these days. But yeah, maybe then trying to bring some of the old days back to the sport then is far and sick as muck then. But thankfully they've got themselves through unscathed. Like I was saying, I think because it's such a long lap, then potentially we might see some pit stops at the end of this lap then for some dry tyres. Because I still don't see any rain falling then through the final sector then into Belgium. Then it's definitely not raining anymore, and we've only done 7 laps of this race. Then there's still quite a long way to go then in this one. Then what are we going to do next for the pit stop phases? Is there going to be anybody diving into the pits on this lap? Then Ginner is in the pit lane from the race lead. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Oh dear, he's had a bit of a clout with the pit wall though, but he has I think got away with no damage. Then into the pits comes Cam as well. Then Serious Mushroom coming in the pit lane as well, calling it a day then on the intermediate compound tyres. Now we switch to the tyre situation because we want to see what they're going to go on to. Ginner then onto medium compound tyres, then away he goes. Then he's been blocked then a bit by the Haas, I think, of Cam coming through into the pits as well. Pit stop time then, it definitely then the top, all of the field then, apart from the top 6 that have pitted then for a new set of dry compound tyres. Ginner's come out of the pit lane very wide then from Ginner and trying to get that car under control, it looks like then as well. They're coming out of the pit lane now. DRS I don't think has been activated just yet then, but is it time for the dry tyres, or have they got to do one more lap then of struggling then before we get ourselves underway? Then we've got problems already coming out of the pit lane then. Young Lights has had an issue then coming out of the box then, it looks like, on these dry compound tyres, and has got himself underway finally then as well. Nigel then coming out of the pits on medium compound tyres for the rest of the field, apart from Young Lights on the hard compound. Ginger Rage is also on the hard compound, as is his teammate Mushroom in P9, then Legend on the hards in P10 as well. Then Farf has got himself back past Sick as Muck. There's no DRS still though, I don't think. Just to go to the Lacombe chicane then, there's still I don't think that rear wing was open then for Farf. Sick as Muck's got a penalty then going through the Lacombe chicane, then it's still a bit treacherous out there in terms of the weather situation, I think then, so we'll have to wait and see how the tyres are going to be. Of course they're going to warm up the medium compound tyres as quickly as possible then, but of course this long lap then is going to help them in that situation. Lap 8 then, it looks like the top 6 then are going to be under a bit of pressure very soon then from those on the dry compound tyres. Right then, let's see how it's going to fare then for these drivers in this race, and what's going to happen next then. We're going to have some pit stops then for the top 6 then, or are they going to stay out then once again then and try and extend their stint then, get their position further in this race then, and then come back later on a new set of tyres? Not the case for R2B or for Equaz. They're coming in the pit lane from the race lead. Then Gordo stays out though. R2B then, sorry, of course R2B is his teammate, so he's going to be double stacking if he does come in the pit lane. Vessia is also in the pit, so is Coop. Then Coop is going to double stack behind his Williams teammate of Equaz. Then Astrojon is also in the pit lane now, and Ginner is going to come through then and take back those positions, I would imagine then, unless he's had a bit of a difficult outlet. Then we'll have to wait and see. Then Ginner is going to come through on the main straight then up into P2, back up into P2 I should say. And of course Gordo yet to pit in this Grand Prix, so he is in the lead of the race then, coming through onto the Kemmel straight there as oh dear, what's that? No, Ginner's come out behind RTB and Equaz then, so it wasn't the right time to pit then. That lap was 1 lap early, and I think for Ginner's sake that he's going to have warmer tyres than those 2 ahead of him, which is going to be good stuff indeed. But unfortunately, I don't think there's DRS then. Wrong angle. I don't think there's DRS still. No, there's not quite any DRS just yet. So it's going to be a long slog then for these drivers then on the dry compound tyres. They've all gone off, or one of them's gone off as R2B then. Oh dear, and Ginner trying to keep control of the car then is lost out slightly there as well. Goodness me. These tyres then are definitely not up to temperature, let's just put it that way at this stage of the race. And only 9 laps in there, but of course they've only done a couple of laps in the dry compound, or on the dry compound I should say then, but I don't think it's fully dried out on track just yet then for it to be the optimum tyre. And maybe Gordo could have pulled a masterstroke here. Could he get himself back? Is it starting to rain again? Goodness me, if it starts raining again, then Gordo's pulled a masterstroke here. He's gone faster still. His DRS has been enabled now. Swan Tracks has picked up a 3-second penalty, but Gordo's gone 4/10 faster. I think Equaz might be going a bit faster as well. The Legend's picked up a 3-second penalty then as well. Then unfortunately he's struggling out there on the hard compound tyres. Going to get the warm up in these hard compound tyres, especially after a lot of rain. It's going to be very difficult indeed then. But here comes Gordo. He's got himself an even bigger gap than he did on the previous lap then, has Gordo. So I don't think he needs to pit, to be fair, but he is coming in the pit lane now and calling it a day then on his intermediate compound tyres. DRS now enabled as well. Good stuff indeed. Right then, where will he come out then in respect to the battling pack then of these three? Oh goodness me, he's gone deep then as Equaz, then R2B trying to get himself back through then. Where is Gordo in all of this? He's coming out of the pit box now, then trundling down towards the pit exit. There with the top three, or the four of the top three then in the pit straight on the main straight. Then Jesus Christ, Jinner's into the back of the R2B then. And where is the Aston Martin of Gordo coming out of the pit lane now? Oh my God, he's gone into the wall on the exit then. That's going to be costly indeed if he's got damage from that. Trying to get the power down too early then is Gordo then trying to fight then with this top three, but he's got himself down to P4 then, but he has got himself a few places gained there with that staying out then extra couple of laps as well. Then Equaz has lost out then to R2B. Jinner's gone through as well. Then Jinner's going to try and go through past two of them. Is he in towards Lacombe? Oh God, the angle's closing there then, and unfortunately R2B closing the door on Jinner then a bit too much into the Lacombe chicane, into the entry point that is. But there we are then. Reflection has passed Sickles Muck then for P11 as well here. Right then, now DRS has been enabled. I think there's going to be a bit more overtaking to come then in this, even though we saw quite a lot of it in the first 5 laps. Young Lights has got himself back past Astra John then, but unfortunately picked up another penalty then going through the Lacombe chicane for the kick Sauber then. Unfortunately on that default setup, it's going to be very tough indeed trying to keep himself out of the track, or onto the track, in the track limits, I should say. Ginger Age is all over the back bit of Mushroom and Reflection, but Kiki is going to join them very quickly indeed with some company, I would imagine. But we'll have to wait and see then. When is the next phase? Then of course there's going to be quite a few drivers I think trying to get themselves to the end of the Grand Prix from here, especially those I think we've got on the hard compound tyres. We'll have to wait and see then which strategy is going to be the next, of course. Which strategy is going to be the best, of course, because we don't know. Well, I don't know, or maybe they do. As the drivers, I'm sure they do a lot more than I will. But as we head into the bus stop then to finish off lap 10, we've got a yellow flag. And is it Legend? I think Legend's lost out to Farth then. But I'm not sure if it was Legend who had the issue then or somebody else there, but he's carrying on once again. He's back underway. R2B sets the fastest lap of the race there. He's got into the lead of the Grand Prix, and now he is he's under pressure from Jinner then. Unfortunately for Equaz, he's on the hard compound tyres and struggling to stay with the top two now. Coop then sets the fastest lap of the race then on the medium compound tyre. Gordo has now joined Equaz for company here as well then, as we head down towards Eau Rouge and Radion once again then onto lap 11. And this is the quarter-way point then of the Grand Prix. So far it's been absolutely brilliant out here in the Ardennes Forest, and Equaz has got himself back in contention with some DRS then down this Camel Straight, and here comes Jinner then on the attack. Then can he make a move then into Lacombe? Not quite, he's too far back then on the Aston Martin of R2B. And we have a breather. Right then. Like I said, of course, Equaz on the hard compound tyres is going to start to struggle. It's going to struggle, to stay with the medium compound runners as Vessier and Coot then switching places then through the Lacombe chicane. Then Vessier takes the position then into P7, goes the Alpine. Then here comes Reflection into the top 10, then getting past Legend then into Lacombe as well, and taking away that points paying position then, putting it in favour then of the Mercedes team then. Good stuff indeed then. Ginger Age, Kiki has joined on to this fight then with Ginger Age then for the final points paying position. Then Hungry Styles picks up a penalty unfortunately for him. Nigel then is doing a good job then soldiering on out there as well on the medium compound tyres. Astra John and Young Lights have, Astra John and Nigel have gone past Young Lights there. Young Lights is struggling then on his dry tyres then on the default setup as well then. And has just driven straight off the circuit there. Right, fantastic stuff indeed. Jinner then is, they've both dropped Equaz then, these two. They are flying out there. Look at them go then on the medium compound tyres. They are storming off into the distance at this stage. And Legends had an issue. Again, then Legends had an issue into sector, or end of sector 2 then. Oh God, he's gone himself completely around there as well then into sector 3 as well here. And that is definitely a stranded Kick Sauber then as well then. Trying to get himself back underway then. Unfortunately he is lost out then to everybody apart from Vintage there. Vintage is still plodding along unfortunately out there. He's not got himself back in contention unfortunately on the dry compound tyres, so he needs to get himself a bit of a move on now. But of course on the dry compound tyres we've seen some good stuff indeed from Vintage before, so we'll see it hopefully again later on in this race, so we'll stay tuned for that one. But in the front of the race, at the front of the pack then I should say, then here comes Jinner then on the attack then. Before we got Young Lights retiring in the pit lane. He is done and dusted in this race as well then, so that is it for Young Lights then. The first retirement then, only a quarter of the way through the Grand Prix. Jinner takes the lead of the Grand Prix as well. Brilliant stuff indeed. I completely missed that because I was busy focusing on what what people are retiring in the pits for. But there we go then. So here we go. Jinner then has taken the position away. He's taken the lead of the Grand Prix back then, this time from R2B, this time in the Aston Martin. Gordo's got himself past Equaz. Then, of course, like I said, the Equaz on the hard compound tyres is going to be having a bit of a difficult race in this first few laps then of this stint then, but it will come back to him on those hard compound tyres later on in the stint as well. Gordo picks up a penalty and going wide through Pouillon, and unfortunately that's going to be added to his race time at the end of the Grand Prix as well. Right then, yellow flags are fluttering. Then they are fluttering for Young Lights' car that's come out of the pit. Sorry, Legend has got himself through. Then he's on to a new set of medium compound tyres and back underway now. Potentially could go medium from here. I think I'm not quite sure if that's going to be the right call, but what do I know? So there we are. But so far so good then for the other 19 drivers who are still in this Grand Prix. Right then, R2B is going to be under pressure, or putting Jinner under pressure in towards the bus stop chicane. Later on the brakes then is the Aston Martin, but not quite making the move then into that final couple of corners and onto lap 13 now. Go the two race leaders. There's very wide indeed then for Gordo at the background then, and that could open the door then for Equaz to try and come back through. Then R2B is taking the lead then into La Source. Not quite then. Jinner has the inside as we battle away down the hill then towards Eau Rouge and Radion once again then. Some DRS chicken going on there as well then. Unfortunately for Legend, he's had an issue again then through Pouillon this time. But there we go. Yeah, R2B and Jinner then playing DRS chicken with each other then on lap 13 of 44, which is well, just yes, I suppose. But there we go. Jinner has taken the lead of the Grand Prix with some DRS as well. Then Cam has got himself past Equaz then into P4. Then, of course, Cam as well then on the medium compound tyres. Vessia passing Mushroom then as well on medium compound tyres. And I think we're going to see Coop. No, Coop just lining up a move then, but not quite making the move then, unfortunately, for the Williams driver. Then Kiki has got himself past Sick as Muck as well. And up into P11 now as well. Then good stuff indeed. And Ginger Ray still in this fight as well for the brink of the points paying positions as it stands. Then Nigel's got himself past Astrojon then into P14 in the Haas and into Lacombe now. I think all the tyres now are starting to warm up then into their best phase. Of course, the track has been drying out more and more as well then as we get ourselves through the race. At this stage of the race, I think it's now dry completely on track, which is very good stuff indeed, because that is well, less dangerous for the drivers, I suppose you could say. But well, to be fair, it's Formula 1, so it's going to be dangerous regardless of what conditions are like. But that is just the way of the cookie crumbling, I suppose you could say. Right then, I'm in front. Jinner has gone for it. Jinner has got himself almost a 1 second gap then to the Aston Martin of R2B as we head into the bus stop chicane once again then. And yeah, like I said, trying to extend that gap then to get himself out of DRS contention, then the DRS window then, but unfortunately hasn't quite made it, I don't think. So R2B still has some DRS then to play with. Then fastest lap then for Jinner, a 14.9.536 then. So it's still there's still some still a bit of water on track then, I think, because it's not the fastest times just yet then. But of course the lap times will get faster and faster as the fuel loads get lighter as well. So far in this Grand Prix, it's been well, all-out slog then in this one, especially in the wet conditions at the beginning. Sick as Muck back past Kiki, then into the first turn, then back up into P11, then Ginger Age waiting patiently behind these two. If there's oh dear, what's happened then is Legends had another problem then at the exit of into sector 3, that is. Well, yeah, now it's sector 3 then, but unfortunately having a bit of problems then out in the kick salver. Then Sirius Mushroom and Vessia, then Mushroom back ahead of the Alpine into Lacombe, then back into P6 then for the McLaren. And now trying to soldier on then on the hard compound tyres. Like I said, it's going to be a difficult choice, a difficult first part of the stint then for those on the hard compound tyres, but it will come back to them later on in the stint and later on in this Grand Prix as well then. So it's not all done and dusted just yet for the Mushroom, for the Ginger Age, for Astrojon then, or for Equaz. Yellow flag for Legend again on the main straight this time. Unfortunately, he's really having a tough time out there, let's just put it that way. But back underway very quickly indeed as well. Then Jinner then coming round into sector 3 then to finish off lap 14 onto lap 15 here, then almost at the third waypoint then of this race. The first sector almost complete here in Belgium. Then so far so good then for 19 drivers then. But here comes R2B then trying to take that lead of the Grand Prix back now as we go through Blanchimont. This time Legend's got a 3-second penalty this time going up the hill then towards Eau Rouge and Radion into down the outside, then turning to the inside then for R2B, then has got the lead of the Grand Prix. But Jinner's going for the switch back here, and on the traction I think he's going to get that position back. Then he's down towards turn 1, not quite then because R2B's got DRS then into La Source, and he has got the position as well. Brilliant stuff indeed then. Brilliant battle indeed. Gordo is getting closer and closer. Look at this. Gordo then in the background is 1.2 seconds off. Then Jinner is going to have to make a move then if he can, if he wants to get himself out of that range then of the Aston Martin of Gordo as well. Then Gordo now up into P3, 1.1 seconds behind the top two. Then the gap was over 3 seconds before. Oh my God, then Jinner's gone into the back of RTB then, as RTB was very fairly just taking the racing line then. But yes, maybe not so much then from Jinner's point of view. But there we go then into Lacombe then, and Jinner takes back the lead then, but RTB is fighting back as well then round the outside then on the exit of Lacombe, then down towards the next right-hander, then down the hill. Then can he go down the inside? He thinks better of it then, but Gordo has now joined the fight here as well then for P3. Sorry, for the race lead, but from P3. Equaz then 2.7 seconds back, then Cam in P7 for the time being. Then Vess here as well then is all over the back of Coop into where are we, into the corner of No Name then, and Serious Mushroom has now joined the fight too in P8 as well here. Reflection up into P9, then Fast P10, Geeky in P11, and Sickness Mutt in P12 then, and now being chased down by Ginger Rage on these hard compound tyres. We'll have to wait and see then how long the medium compound tyres are going to hold on then, and when the hard compound tyres are going to switch into the favourable tyre or the better tyre then compared to the medium compound then. But so far I think it's still medium compound tyres then for the best tyre at the moment. Here we go then into Blanchimont once again then. Lap 15 completed, or very much completed then as we go. Oh, here we go then. I think there's going to be a move then from R2B then into the bus stop chicane again. He's got the inside for the next left-hander, but again, will Jinner be able to switch back then on the R2B on the Aston Martin then? I don't think so, because unfortunately I think that he had a bit of a squirrely moment then out of the bus stop chicane. Then Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race then into La Source we go then. Jinner stays P2 then. Now Gordo is going to try another move on both of them. Is he down the Kemmel straight then? Coop sets the fastest lap of the race then. Coop is flying out there in the Williams car on the medium compound tyres. Reflection as well then on the medium compound tyres, but in the Mercedes, sorry, in P9, has got himself the fastest lap of the race so far. Right then, here's the battle then for the race lead then as we go onto the Camel Straight once again. I think Gordo was just watching rather than doing anything, rather than trying to make a move then as we go into Lacombe. This time Jinner's gone deep though, and now R2B, Jinner's gone off the circuit then slightly, and R2B's reclaimed the lead then as we go through Lacombe. Then he's got himself back up into the race lead then as we head down the hill then to the next right-hander as well then. Jinner then is looking a bit antsy, let's just put it that way. But of course we're only on lap 16, there's still plenty of laps then for Jinner to get himself back into the race lead, where of course he qualified as well then. We've just seen Reflection lose out to Farf then. Farf up into P9 now and ahead of the Mercedes Rover, but these two in a bit of no man's land as it stands at the moment. 5 seconds behind Mushroom in P8 and 4 seconds ahead of Kiki in P11 as it stands. Mushroom is in a fight then for P6 and as it stands as well with Coop and Vessia. Legend sets the fastest lap of the race, so Legend hopefully is back underway now and back in the racing frame of mind then to get himself back underway in this race and back in contention. But there we go then, 16 laps then have been almost completed once again then as we fly through Blanchimont once again then for the 16th time. Jinner then is lost out quite a gap then to R2B then. R2B on the power then, maybe going for a fastest lap attempt here in the Aston Martin as we go into the bus stop chicane, and maybe going for that extra point as well then for the Aston Martin team as he crosses the line. Then I think we might see, yes we are, 47.320 is the fastest lap of the race so far, and that is set by our man in pole position as it stands, or P1 as it stands then, which is R2B then in the Aston Martin. Then Jinner then is waiting in the wings, and the other Aston Martin of Gordo then is only 7/10 back as well. And Cam, I think, is going to be lining up a move then for P4 here. He's very close indeed to New Zealand Cam then out in front. I don't think the gaps are close enough then. We'll come back to that then as here comes Cam, who is storming down the, going to be the outside then into Lacombe then with some DRS then, with some ERS as well then. He takes P4 away from Equaz then for the time being into Lacombe then. P4 now for the Haas driver as Stickers Mac picks up a penalty then going through Eau Rouge and Radion then. And Ginger Rage is all over the back of the Ferrari then. Oh my God, there's contact between the two of them then as well. And Ginger Rage has gone onto the grass then, so that's brilliant stuff indeed. Then Ginger Rage has not been able to get himself past the Ferrari unfortunately on this occasion, and yeah, not quite sure what happened there between the two of them then, but nonetheless then status quo Kiki then has tried to get himself away then, I think, from this battling pair, because he doesn't want to be involved in anything like that. And Reflection has got himself back past Farf as well. Then Swanshanks picked up a penalty, unfortunately, for the Ferrari driver. Then it's gone from not from too good to not too bad, and to bad again. Then unfortunately for Swanshanks, as it stands, then Young Lux has left the session. He's pit and quit then already in this Grand Prix. Lap 17 now. Here comes Jinner on the attack once again. Then can he get himself back in contention? Maybe saving a bit of power, actually, saving a bit of ERS and energy. Then R2B as well, saving up the battery pack as well. All three of them, I think, in a bit of a conservation mode as it stands. Not battling too hard then between each other then at this stage of the race as it stands at the moment. But only on lap 17, we're not at halfway yet. We're almost at halfway, to be fair. Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race then. So they might ignore what I'm saying. 47.289 then for the Aston Martin of Gordo. Sick as muck then, and Kiki has lost out. Ginger Age has lost out as well then. What's happened there? Kiki's had an issue somewhere, because he's what's happened to Kiki then? I'm not quite sure what's going on for Kiki then. He seems to be having some sort of issues now, because it was going all right then. He was quite comfortably ahead of Sick as Muck as well then, but he lost out then to the Ferrari, and now Ginger Rage is in contention as well then, as we carry on the fight then. Penalty situation is looking pretty dire, unfortunately, for most drivers out there. We've only got 4 drivers without any penalties out there at the moment. Vessia has got himself past Coupe then into P6 now as well, into the Lacombe chicane then. So yeah, lots of penalties racking up out here as well. Then Jinner and Gordo are battling through the corner of no name, and there's contact. There's more contact then as Gordo's gone on the grass then, and through Pouillon now as well. Then as we go side by side, Jinner's got the place back then, but they've now created a gap of over 1 second to R2B. Potentially that was what Gordo was trying to fight for, potentially to help his teammate out in this race and alleviate the pressure then from the Mercedes behind. Yellow flags. It's for Legend then. Legend's had another issue then at the final corner then, unfortunately, and has got himself back underway. R2B then is having a bit of a problem out there. R2B's not having a problem. Jinner and Gordo were having a bit of a problem then through the corner of no name. Through Blanchemont now, he's got a 1.7 second gap then to the Aston Martin of R2B then, and I think that might have been some team orders then, some teamwork then from the Aston Martin pair, because they can gang up on Jinner, can't they, really? Because they've got 2 against 1 then in the race situation, just like Red Bull used to do then in terms of the strategy. They used to be able to use both cars to sort of pull the other teams around then in terms of the strategy and what they were doing. Then they can do that in the race as well then, and of course I think Gordo then has helped out his teammate into no end there as well then, as Cooper's got himself back past Vessia then into P6 now, 4 seconds behind his teammate of Equaz then, who's trying to chase down New Zealand Cam then still for P4 in the background. And we've got Mushroom then, no penalties for Mushroom. As I say that, I'm sure he's going to get a penalty now, but commentators curse and all that. Gordo's got himself past Jinner this time then, up into P2, has he? Round the outside goes Jinner then, and he's going to try and battle this one and through the Lacombe chicane then. Gordo's got the inside for the next right-hander, and oh goodness me, I think they're still going to be fighting side by side through the next right-hander as well then, as Jinner is going around the outside the long way round, and I think Gordo has got the position then into corner of no name up into P2. They've lost 3 seconds after all of that battling then to R2B then, who stormed off into the lead now on his medium compound tyres, looking very strong indeed as well then. Equaz then couldn't get himself past New Zealand Can then. Mushroom has got himself past Coupe and Vessia now on the hard compound tyres. Brilliant stuff indeed from Mushroom. I completely missed it, I'm very sorry. I seem to miss all of his overtakes, but it is not intentional, put it that way. Yes, there we go then. Mushroom up into P6 then, ahead of Coupe now, who's down to P7. Vessia P8 then, 6 seconds back to Reflection, who's in the battle with Farf as well now. 4 seconds back to Kiki in P11, and Sick as Muck P12, and Ginger Rage in P13. So far, so good then. There we are then, out in front then, 3.7 seconds the gap then. Jinner is now all over the back of Gordo then, obviously he's been overtaken by the Aston Martin on the previous straight, as we head into lap 19, or lap 20 now, sorry. So almost there, as R2B sets the fastest lap of the race, just to compound the misery then for Jinner and Gordo. He's now got a 4 second gap then, and a 47.219 then, the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Fantastic. Oh my goodness me, that was not fantastic. I'm not sure what was going on there between Cam, well, I think it was Cam locking up, and I think it was Equaz going deep at the same time, and so both of them having a different issue into the first hairpin, the first turn, the first hairpin of the circuit as well. Then, and now Equaz, I think, is in contention there with some nice DRS and ERS to make the move then for P4. Mushroom 3 seconds back now, but he's under pressure from Coop. Then Cooper's got himself back up into P6. Then Mushroom then is a bit defensive. There's no DRS then for Mushroom, and Vessier's got himself back up into P7, and Mushroom back down to P8. Unfortunately for the McLaren, is still in the fight then for some big points here tonight. Then Astrodron has been passed by Hungry Styles. Then Styles up into P15 then, and powering up the hill. Then Far from Reflection carrying on their fight. Then the two-way fight then for these two in the final 2 points paying positions as it stands are fighting away for P9 and P10 respectively. There we go then. Unfortunately for Mushroom, then dropping down then to P8. Then he's lost out quite a bit then to Vessier and Coop as well then. So hopefully he can get some back in contention as well for that for that position. Of course, the medium compound tyres will start to drop off quicker than the hard compound tyres, you would expect anyway. So Mushroom then is going to be looking for a longer term strategy then in this stint, sorry, but also potentially into the next stint. He will be a bit faster as well then if he switches on to a medium or even a soft compound tyre. We'll have to wait and see, but we'll have to find out what the strategy is going to be like then, because we don't know, as I have no clue, and at the moment we're looking at hards and mediums. So of course we had 9 laps of or 8 laps of rain then to start off this race. So that would throw the strategy up in the air even more so. But there we are. Cam then is still trailing Equaz then just about behind with some DRS. Then in the background we can see Vessier, Coop and Mushroom then all pouring through the bus stop chicane then onto lap 21. Yellow flags for it's a racing ball of Astrodron who's had an issue somewhere out of sector or into sector 3. Sorry, the racing ball back underway then quickly enough. Then unfortunately it's dropped down behind a Swan Shanks there. Rightio then, I think Mushroom has decided better of battling these two, and just going to wait for their tyres to drop off. Then here comes Cam then. Where is Equaz? There he is. I thought he was, I didn't even see him in the shot then. Very briefly then into Lacombe then, and Cam back up into P4. Then Vessier takes P6 away from Coop then as we go through the Lacombe chicane. And very good stuff indeed out there as well. Then Gordo is holding on to P2. Then Reflection up into P9, passing Far then into the same chicane. And looks like that is going to be the overtaking spot for this Grand Prix, as it usually is then in real life racing as well. Good stuff indeed. Almost at the halfway point of this race as well. My voice is already starting to go. So we've still got 22 laps after this one. And, well, no, after the next one, actually. So 23 laps to go then at the end of this one. And R2B then looking very comfortable indeed out there. He's done 12 laps on, well, almost 13 laps then on his medium compound tyres. When will the medium compound tyre give up then? We'll have to wait and see. Or usually in the normal 50% races, I think it's about 12 laps or so. So he's probably about halfway through the stint potentially. Will that get him to the end of the Grand Prix? Definitely not. Then he'll have to switch on to potentially a soft compound tyre or something else then later on in this race. Then so potentially we might see the medium compound runners then have to pit. Then the hard compound tyres get to the end of the Grand Prix from here. They've done 13 laps, then they're going to have to do another 22. And that might be a tall order then for the those on the hard compound tyres, but we'll see if they can make it work. Then we'll have to wait and see what they're going to do in terms of strategy anyway, because we don't have a clue. And well, I don't. So again, if you've got any insight then in strategy, let us know in the comment section. But so far so good. Then here comes Coop then on the attack then once again for that P6 position then with Vessier. Then these two have been quite inseparable, to be fair, in this stint since it became dry. They've been having a bit of a fight then for this P6 position. Mushroom unfortunately is dropping further back then. He's dropping off the off these two as these two carry on their fighting. Mushroom is losing contention then. He was of course up into P6 momentarily as well then, but now trying to get himself back underway. Equaz then has not been able to get himself back past New Zealand Cam. Then Cam takes P4 as it stands out there. Then 4.7 seconds the gap for the race leaders. For the race lead then over his teammate Gordo for R2 beat. Jinner then only 3/10 back then from P2 as it stands. In penalties, like I said, racking up then. Penalties for Jinner then 6 seconds and 3 seconds for Gordo, 3 for Cam, 3 for Coop, then 6 for Vessier, 3 for Reflection, 6 for Farf, 3 for Kiki, 6 for Ginger Age, 9 for Sickers Luck, then 3 for Nigel, 6 for Styles, 6 for Swanshank, 3 for Vintage and 6 for Legend. Goodness me, I tried to do that in one breath, and that was very, almost me fainting that. Quite a lot of penalties out there already then as we get to the halfway point of this race. But of course, we did have 8 laps of intermediate racing then, which is going to be very difficult, especially negotiating around this circuit. And they managed it fair enough indeed. So well done for those drivers then who managed to get themselves through. But I think it has been at a cost then to a few track limit warnings in those wet conditions as well then. Right then, 5.2 seconds the gap then. I think Gordo's actually building up a gap then, so he can potentially pit on the same lap then as his teammate then if he needs to pit again, that is. But that is, of course, if there's a safety car or if there's some sort of issues then for the Aston Martins where they both have to pit on the same lap, then there is a gap then of 5 seconds between the double stack then between the Aston Martin drivers. But here comes Ginner then on the attack then. Can Ginner line up a move then for P2 then into the Lacombe chicane? Going to go around the outside. He's going to have to be going. Oh my goodness, there's contact then. Oh god, that was close indeed then. Almost a spin then for Gordo. And somehow they've got themselves through unscathed, I think, just about. Then Gordo is fighting around the outside now, but Ginner's got the inside. I think this is going to be Ginner's position. And it is Ginner's position then into the corner of No Name. He's taken P2 away from Gordo as well now. But again, that battling has cost him another second then to R2 beat almost 6 seconds now then to the race lead. New Zealand Cam has been passed by Equaz, then Equaz up into P4. Down the order then we've got Vessia and Coop and Serious Mushroom then still battling away then for P6, 7 and 8 respectively. 8 seconds back is Reflection. Favre has dropped off the Mercedes driver for the time being. Then Ginger Age has got himself up into P11 now, and unbeknownst to me, I've completely missed it from Ginger Age. Then he has got himself up into just outside the points paying positions now, but he's got himself ahead of Kiki and from Sick as Muck as well here. I'm going to have a quick drinks break. Very sorry. Right, back again. My goodness me, of course the drivers have their own drinks tubes then connected to their helmets, and they can have a drink all the time then during their race. I have to stop talking. But to be fair, I think that's probably what most people want me to do. But there we go. Ginger Rage is gaining quite significantly then on Favre. He is storming off in the distance then. It's Ginger Rage. Look at that. He's almost got himself a gap then to Kiki as well then. And those hard compound tyres, are they the best tyre now to be on? Have the strategy switched then in the favour of the hard compound tyre as we go into Lacombe then? And New Zealand Cam can't get himself past Equaz. Potentially, I think potentially we might be seeing a bit of a change here, and Vessia has caught up to Cam and Equaz here as well then. So brilliant stuff indeed. All of that's a battling then. We didn't see it, but all that battling then has got himself into contention then with some bigger points paying positions as well then for Vessia and for Coop and for Mushroom as well here. Mushroom of course on the hard compound tyres, as is his teammate Ginger Rage then. He is gaining hand over fist now on Favre as well, down to 2.4 seconds. It was over 3 on the previous first lap. Perhaps previous first lap? Goodness me. On the previous lap, that is. And so far so good then for Ginger Rage and trying to get himself into contention for some points paying positions, and looking good so far then. Out in front, the gaps are very close indeed between Equaz, Cam, Vessia, Coop and Mushroom, and these 5 are then flying through into sector 3. There they are then down the back straight then towards Blanchimont. Then Ginner picks up a 3-second penalty then going through into Blanchimont. That's an odd place to pick up a penalty then unfortunately for Ginner, but nonetheless that is the situation we're in then. He's got himself a gap now of 1.1 seconds to Gordo then. So Gordo's dropped out of the DRS range then of the Mercedes driver as it stands, but they're still 7 seconds behind the race leader of R2 Beat at this moment in time. Here comes Cam then in the background then on Equaz, then not quite into turn 1. Then Vessia filters through, so does Coop, so does Mushroom, and they're all in contention then, all lying astern almost then as we head up to, or down the hill, sorry, towards Eau Rouge and Radion then. Hungry Styles picks up another penalty then. Unfortunately the penalties rolling in then for Styles, as they are for the rest of the field to be fair. There's only a few without the penalties now as well, then only 3 without penalties now I should say. One of them being this man here, Mushroom, the other 2 Equaz and R2 Beat further up the order as well. Brilliant stuff indeed then. I think Favre has taken a toilet break or something, because Ginger Rage is all over we're going to be all over the back of him very soon. But all over the back of Ginger Rage then is Kiki then. And Kiki takes P11 away from the McLaren driver then into Lacombe. And unfortunately, like I said, I think they're both going to be able to catch Far very quickly indeed if he's not not in his racing seat and taking a bit of a toilet break. But we've seen Mushroom do that before. Hopefully Mushroom then is not taking any toilet breaks because he's in contention. There are some big points here tonight in the McLaren, or the other McLaren I should say, because both McLarens could be in points paying positions at the end of this race. Then we'll have to wait and see. Then Ginger Age is all over the place, and it looks like that car is not steering very well for Ginger Age, that is, but he is currently pointing it in the right direction, which is good stuff indeed, and very nice indeed as well. Then we'll have a look and see what Serious Mushroom's helmet is like. It is yellow this time, so it's a bit better than pink, but yes, very good stuff indeed as well. We have to comment on the helmets, of course. Very important to some of the drivers, that is, but as I said, I usually just run a very plain black helmet because I can't be bothered to design my helmet. It takes too long. There we go then. Gordo back in DRS now with Chida. Equaz then 5.5 seconds back from the top three as it stands, then no penalties for him. Cam then in P5, then Vessia P6, Coop in P7, then New Zealand and Serious Mushroom, in P8. Legend has got another penalty, unfortunately, with his troubles. Then he's trying to get himself back in contention in this race from the back of the field. Then is Legend, but he is struggling on out there, and at least doing a good job then of keeping himself going in this Grand Prix as well. Across the top of the hill, then here comes some adventures. I think here we've got yellow flags in the background then, but we'll have to stay away from that for the time being. Then here comes Coop then into Lacombe, not quite. Then I think it was Swanshank. Sorry, Father's got a 3-second penalty then. I think it might have been Swanshank who had an issue at the final corner. Then he lost out to Styles onto the main straight. Then Kiki is going around the outside at Lacombe. Then he's got the position on Far, then up into the top 10 now for Kiki. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then Far fighting back though. Yellow flags for Legend as well then as we go through into sector 3. And I'm not quite sure what's happened then to Legend as well there, but he's stopped on track then. Has he? Yes, he's pointing the wrong way then for sure. He has got himself back underway though, which is good stuff indeed. Right then, I think he's been lapped now by R2B. So yeah, unfortunately Legend has been lapped by R2B on lap 26 here. Mushroom's got a 3-second penalty. Then it was my commentator's curse. That is Mushroom. I'm very sorry, but I did say it about 5 laps ago. But unfortunately for Mushroom, then he picks up a penalty. There are only 2 drivers left with no penalties now. But of course, minimising the penalties around here, especially in the length of this race, is going to be a very important stuff indeed as we head into lap 27. And Gordo is coming into the pit lane. Legend has retired in the pit lane, I think. Yes, he is in the pit lane, so there's no safety cars for that then. Gordo into the box, then what is Gordo going to go on to? And it is another set of medium compound tyres then to the end of the Grand Prix from here then for the Aston Martin driver, then on to a new set of tyres, and away he goes. Unfortunately, Legend's car is going to be coming out the pit lane and on its own a bit, when maybe in the way of some drivers as well. Then out of the pits comes Gordo. This time much easier than on the on the dry tyres on his first stint, when it was still a drying track at the same time. He's come out in P8, then ahead of Reflection now, and back up the hill then towards Eau Rouge, towards the Kemmel Straight now. He's past Eau Rouge and Radillon. He has got himself a nice gap then of 10 seconds to P7 of Serious Mushroom. So, pit stop starting to unfold then. Medium compound tyres maybe starting to fade. Then Ginger Age has got himself up into P11, passing Far, and up into P11 now for the McLaren driver, then chasing down Kiki for that final points paying position here as we head through Lacombe. Then once again more action. Then further up the field, then we've got all sorts of action. Then this train then still formed very comfortably behind Equaz then as it stands on the hard compound tyres. Mushroom then down to Mushroom in P7, and then from P3 to P7 these 5 are have been in close contention for pretty much the last 5-10 laps or so. So it's been pretty good stuff and need to watch as well. Then Ginger Age has caught up to Kiki, then Kiki on the medium compound tyres, Ginger Age of course on the hard compound tyres. Can he get those hard compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix? We will have to wait and see. Then Gordo is flying. Now Gordo has got himself a new set of boots then, and Gordo, who of course is the only driver to pit on this onto a new set of dry compound tyres then after the first lot, then after the first stint, as we've got communicating with online services then. Okay, interesting. Equaz into the pits from the hard compound tyres, and Cam as well then of the medium compound tyres as well. And so Equaz is that's a bit of an odd call then from Equaz. He's gone from the hards. He's going to call it a day earlier than those on the medium compound tyres for most of them. And Gordo up into P6 then. Cam coming out of the pits as well now. Sorry, coming into the box then, I should say. Then he's got himself a bit of, it'll be a fight then with Ginger Rage and Kiki. Then Ginger Rage up into P8 now. Brilliant stuff indeed. Lofty heights then for Ginger Rage, and he's got himself just ahead of Equaz, I think. Yes, he has. And now Equaz onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres, but going to be in a bit of a fight then with in a bit of a fight then with Ginger Rage then, and Kiki as well. Then Ginger Rage then is all over the back of Kiki as we head onto the Kemmel straight now. Powering along then up into P7 then, and here comes Equaz as well. Then Equaz with some DRS. Then it's going to be later on the brakes. No, he's not. Then he has to stick behind Kiki, who's on much older, or 20 lap older tyres than the Williams car. And I think Equaz is going to make a bit of a easy move of this one down the inside of the next right-hander. Then Equaz then has got the fresher tyres, the fresher grip, or the most grip I should say then, and then the better speed and traction on those new tyres as well then, and up into P8 then. Ginger Rage up into P7 then, but under a bit of pressure very shortly then from the Williams car of Equaz, and that's Mushroom, sorry, that's Mushroom and Vessia. I thought that was the other McLaren then. There's the McLaren of Ginger Rage then, and there is Equaz then in P8 then. Cam then can't get past Kiki then into sector 2 just yet, and has to wait his turn then into sector 3 potentially as well then, for the Haas driver then. Oh, is he going to go side by side through here? Then that is a dodgy place to go, and thankfully I think he thought better of it on that occasion, which is good stuff indeed. Here we go then along towards Blanchimont then, and now the extra pace then from the medium compound tyres then, side by side then through Blanchimont then for Cam and for Kiki, and they're still side by side as we head towards the bus stop chicane, and round the outside, down the outside I should say then, for the Hassler into the bus stop chicane. Then he's got the position ahead of Kiki. Unfortunately Kiki on the older tyres then isn't going to be able to compete, I don't think then, compared to the much fresher rubber then on the Haas, sorry, and on the Williams of Equaz as well. Into the pitch comes Farfar's pitted for soft compound tyres. Out in the lead then, Vessia takes P3 away from Coupe on the mediums into Lacombe, then up into the podium places now for Vessia, 6 seconds behind Ginner for the time being. Serious Mushroom is into P5 and staying out at this stage as well. Then Ginger Rage is staying out as well, but he's been passed by Equaz now. Up into P7 goes at the Williams car then, on a charge then, of course, trying to charge after Gordo, and Gordo then is 9 seconds ahead of Equaz then after the stints then have gone his way. Of course, I don't know if Equaz maybe didn't have another set of medium compound tyres under that safety car, under that oh dear, as Swan Jack has clouded the wall then on the exit of the pit lane. Soft compound tyres with him as well. We're almost at the 2/3 distance here. At the end of this lap we will be, anyway, so there we are then. But yes, like I said, I think the soft compound tyres probably can go to the end from here. We will find out then in the next few laps or so. But I think there might be some drivers then trying to soldier on to the end of the Grand Prix, which could be the likes of the McLarens then on the hard compound tyre. We'll find out then well, we'll have to find out very shortly, because if they're going to make a pit stop, they're going to have to maximise their tyre life then, or their tyres, I should say, their tyre usage on their new tyres as well. Yellow flags for a Haas. Then I think Nigel's had an issue somewhere then in sector 2. Then he's back underway quickly enough. Then Mushroom, what's happening? Vessia's in the pits. That's what's happening there. So Vessia calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres. Into the box then for the Alpine driver. Then he's I think had an issue then getting himself into the box as well there. So that is why he's had had that issue. Then that's why the yellow flags were fluttering anyway. I think that was for Vessia and then having his spin into the pit lane. Then into the pits comes Kiki as well then from P10. And calling it a day then on his medium compound tyre as well then. It's going to be interesting stuff indeed then, if the medium compound tyres are going to hold on then, if they're going to go to the end of the Grand Prix, and how quickly will those on the fresh mediums try and or be able to catch up as well then. Reflection passes Kiki, he's onto soft compound tyres with Kiki, so that's even more, no, it's not, it's medium, is it medium? I can't tell. Medium compound tyres, there we go, good stuff indeed, but it's a slow stop there, Kiki, because he's lost out to Nigel and to Farf then as well then. So not quite sure what happened there for Kiki, but had a bit of an issue then into the pits as well. Then Hungry Styles soft compound tyres for the Red Bull, and it's going to be in a battle with Swanshanks then for this next stint as well, I would imagine, as he comes out of the pit lane now. Right then. We've got 18 drivers then who are in a fight here for the final few positions then. Serious Mushroom then is on the older hard compound tyres. You would have thought that he would be much quicker now at this stage compared to the likes of Coupe and the likes of Ginner and, well, not Ginner and R2B, because they're pretty quick stuff indeed, but they're also quite further away as well. Yellow flags, I think it was for R2B. R2B's had an issue getting into the pit lane then, and luckily he's got quite a sizable gap in the race lead, so he didn't have to worry too much, but I think we've got a Mercedes coming out. No, we haven't. No, it's maybe a Williams. No, it's nobody coming out then. So R2B then, pit stop then for R2B. It's a slow stop as well then for R2B. What's happening to the oh, he's teleported then. Brilliant. So Cooper's in the pit lane as well. Then Ginner has carried on. Then Ginner's done 23 laps then on his medium compound tyres, but has yet to pit again then after the first stop for the dry compound. R2B then is 5 seconds behind then the race leader, the pole sitter then for this Grand Prix then, of course, but he's going to be under pressure then with R2B then chasing him down. Then 4 seconds back to Mushroom then, who has stayed out once again. Now Gordo has caught up to Mushroom then, so Gordo has chosen the right strategy here, I think, then to get himself back in podium contention now, and will overtake Mushroom then for P3, then back into the podium places then for Gordo. And you know what, I think the Aston Martins might take a 1-2 here with the situation. Then Ginner stayed out, then Ginner is going to be losing a lot of time then as a Red Bull then is moving off the field then, I think, moving out of the way then, as Equaz has got a 9-second gap then back to what is going on? There's red, yellow flags all over the place. Thankfully, there's no red flags because we don't have them on. But there we go. Then Mushroom then is on a charge now, hopefully, or trying to charge at least, and get himself back in contention with some DRS then on Gordo. But of course, Gordo's on much fresher tyres than on the medium compound tyre, 4 laps old compared to Mushroom's 23 lap old tyres as well. Right, 9 seconds the gap between Equaz and Mushroom. Mushroom is going to be, I think if he's going to try and stay out, that gap is going to be very quickly evaporated. Then we'll have to wait and see. Then 31 laps have been commenced. Then we're going to have another 14 laps to go at the end of this one. Will Ginner come in the pit lane and get himself off those medium compound tyres? Or will he carry on then to the end of the Grand Prix? We'll have to wait and see. He's staying out then is Ginner, and carrying on then is the Mercedes driver. 4 seconds the gap then back to R2B, then who's pitted onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres. Great stuff indeed. Then Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race, then 3.4 seconds back to his teammate then. So again, if Ginner was to pit now, I think he would actually lose out of the podium places then in terms of position, that is. Potentially in terms of penalties as well, then we'll have to wait and see. Then 8.9 seconds the gap then back to Equaz. Legend has said who has the fastest lap. Well, Gordo just set the fastest lap, so I'm not quite sure what it is, but I think he just said it, 46.017, which is pretty quick indeed. And so far so good then for Gordo, then trying to chase down his teammate. And I think potentially if Ginner does have to pit, or even worse, if Ginner gets a puncture, then they will be in prime position then, the Aston Martins, to capitalise then on the mistake or the issues then for the Mercedes driver if that happens. Vessia and Coop then, again, these two battling away still in this next stint as well then, up into P8 now for Vessia, that is. Hungry Styles sets the fastest lap of the race then, a 45.799 then on the soft compound tyres. Brilliant stuff indeed from Styles, still going out there very strong indeed then, and then getting himself an extra point then, and of course a bonus point for Red Bull if he can hold on to that at the end of the race. But so far so good then. Cam has got himself past Ginger Rage now, and Ginger Rage of course is starting to struggle, I think, on those old hard compound tyres compared to those on much fresher mediums. He is not going to be in a prime position, I think, then, and that could cost him a place in the top 10 then, potentially. We'll have to wait and see then at the end of lap 44 then, but as it stands then, he's now got Vessia and Coop then, both of them are on much fresher medium compound tyres, only 2 laps old then for Vessia. So they are going to be swarming all over the back then very quickly indeed. Oh dear, we've got an issue then for Nigel. I think Nigel's off the circuit at the Lacombe chicane. There's somebody with a very loud engine then who has, oh, it's a virtual safety car, never mind. This could be a prime position for stoppage for Serious Mushroom then. He's into the pits now. Will Ginger Rage also come in as well? Then we'll have to wait and see then. Mushroom then is going to be well clear of the pit lane if Ginger Rage doesn't pit, but does pit, but he has stayed out then, has Ginger Rage, so he doesn't want to come into the pits just yet then. Medium compound tyres going on the McLaren. And oh, it's a teleport again then. I thought he was stuck in the pit lane then, but he has teleported once again then. He's going to come back out then in P9. He's going to be quite a bit of a way back behind Coop though, but again, not much fresher tyres. There's only 2 laps of fresher tyres than Coop. Only 3 lap fresher tyres than Vessia then, so unfortunately he's not much gained then from Mushroom. He has lost out from P4 then down to P9 as it stands then. I'm not quite sure, that might be the right call. I'm not quite sure exactly. We'll find out then at the end of the race. Lap 33 or 44 then, we are 3/4 of the way through. That's it, I'm trying to do the maths. But so far so good then. Unfortunately this is the first and only VSC then of the race so far, and first and only yellow flag stoppage of the race itself so far. Just going to have to hope that nobody gets any drive-throughs under the VSC, I should say. But DRS re-enabled then. Nobody has had any issues, thankfully. Into the pits comes Nigel and Astra John then. But they are still on the lead lap, thankfully. So hopefully they'll get themselves back out of the pit lane quickly enough then, and onto a lead lap, onto the next lead lap as well. Then I'm not quite sure what's happening to Nigel's not changed his front wing there. Oh God. Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure what has gone on then for Nigel then. He seems to have just not chosen to change the front wing at all then. Brilliant. That's not good. Out in front then, under 2 seconds now the gap then between the race leaders. Then Gino is struggling on the old medium compound tyres. Then he's still got 11 laps to go then at the start of this one. And I don't think it's going to be the right call, unfortunately, then for the Mercedes driver. He might be in puncture territory as well then towards the end of the race if he stays out then at this pace as well then. But we'll have to wait and see. Then Ginger Rage then is in P6 then, but of course has not pitted then from these hard compound tyres. He's still got another 10 or 11 laps to go as well, so he'll be looking to do about 37 laps then on these hard compound tyres, which is going to be quite a mammoth stint indeed. Half of 37 is 19, which is probably doable then in a 50% race. So of course you just have to extrapolate the data then, times it by 2 then, and that is what you get then for the tyre life. Here comes Vessia on the attack though, in towards Lacombe chicane. Then he's got the position, then he's up into P6 I should say then for Vessia. Takes the position away from the McLaren then of Ginger Rage, and unfortunately then for Ginger Rage it's going to be looking backwards, unfortunately, at this point of the race then, compared to previously looking forwards, obviously. But yeah, of course he's on much older tyres than those on the fresher medium rubber around him now. Serious Mushroom then is dropped down from P4 to P9. Then he's got 4 seconds to Coupe, and unfortunately, like I said, I don't think. Well, it could have been, I'm not quite sure. It depends on if his hard compound tyres are going to make it to the end of that. Ginger Rage has been passed by Coupe then into Sector 2. And not an opportune overtake move, but opportune position to make an overtake. But he has made the overtake nonetheless then, and fairly and cleanly, which is good stuff indeed. So that's that then. I think Nigel's got himself back into the pits now to get himself a new front wing, hopefully. And back underway then. Gino has started off lap 35 and is now under pressure from R2 Beat then into La Source. And R2 Beat, oh my God, what's happening there then? I thought R2 Beat was going to go for a dive then. And R2 Beat then is there going to be some more DRS chicken then from Gino as well then, once again then in towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Yes, there is. So there we go then. But I don't think it will make much of a difference then. There's still 10 laps to go then in this race, and Gino has got 28 lap old medium compound tyres compared to R2 Beat's 5 lap old medium compound tyres at the end of this race. So it's going to be quite a no contest, unfortunately then, especially through corners like this then, through this chicane. R2 Beat is going to gain so much then, and he's going to be all over the back of Gino once again then as we come out of the chicane and now into Sector 2. Sick as Muck sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Then Vessia has passed Can then for P5. Vessia on a charge now on his fresh medium compound tyres as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Ginger Rage then has dropped off the back of this trio then fighting. Unfortunately for Ginger Rage then, I think that's going to be it for his best position then, as Mushroom might be able to catch up to him as well. And unfortunately for Mushroom then, he's going to have to do the hard thing of either overtaking his teammate and being mean, or not overtaking his teammate and playing the team game. But we'll have to wait and see then. Potentially he can pull himself, goodness me, pull Ginger Rage along then with some DRS later on in the race as well. Then we'll have to wait and see. Right then, out in front then, these two battling away side by side through Blanchimont now, and still side by side through there, as Gino's got another 3-second penalty then. I think that might have been for going a bit wide then at the Blanchimont corner, and to be fair, that was, oh goodness me, he's gone squirrely then, he's ghosted as well then, and I think that's going to be costing him too much time then. Unfortunately, I think for the old medium compound tyres then on that Mercedes, then that is it, done and dusted now, as R2 Beat is going to scamper off into the distance from here on in. And down the hill we go then, and Gino has lost out to the DRS, unfortunately then, of the Aston Martin of R2 Beat. Then Gordo now in contention then for that P2 position as well, as he crests the hill then onto Eau Rouge, or through Eau Rouge and Radion, then onto the Kemmel Straight then. Here comes Gordo then lining up a move then for that P2 position then, and Gino is still going to fight it looks like, but I don't think he needs to fight it too hard, because unfortunately it's sort of a status quo then as we have a yellow flag. It's not for Vintage, it's for Styles then. Styles is off the circuit at sector 3 and taking his route through the gravel then to get himself back on track. Vessia and Cam, sorry, have switched places, then Cam back up into P5 now. Brilliant stuff indeed. Gordo then has got himself past Ginner then, and now trying to catch up to his teammate. 1.5 seconds the gap between the two Aston Martin drivers in, and looks like it's going to be quite comfortable for a 1-2 finish here in Belgium for the Aston Martin pair as well, then heading through into sector 2 now as well. Good stuff indeed. Vessia and Coop then are all in the battle then with each other then, but it looks like Coop's going to go down the inside of Pouillon then for that P6 position. Not quite then. Vessia holds on, and that's going to cost them time to Cam as well. Then Cam might be able to scamper off in the distance if they're not too careful, but there we go then. Ginger Age now has been caught up then by his teammate of Mushroom, and maybe there's going to be some McLaren team orders here as well then. Is it going to be Papaya rules, or is it going to be Ginger Age and Serious Mushroom rules? I'm not quite sure. We'll find out then. These two then battling. They've lost DRS now to Cam, and Cam might be very happy about that. I'm sure he will be. But Serious Mushroom has got himself past Ginger Age, sorry, very quickly indeed. So Papaya rules they're not in play. So there we go. Back up into, oh dear, as Ginger Age has gone a bit wide then. But there we go then into P8 now for Mushroom then. Can he chase after this battling pack then? He's going to be, I think, unfortunately, I think the best that, well, unless Ginner's gets an issue then with a puncture or something, unfortunately, I think the best that Mushroom can get then is potentially going to be, what is that going to be, P5, I think, here, because he's got a battle then with Coop, Vessia and Cam. And he's got to get himself to the front of that order then as well. Then Equaz then I think is just patiently waiting for Ginner to come in the pit lane or have some sort of issue then, because his tyres then go pop. But I think at the moment then Equaz then is going to be he will be gaining very quickly indeed very soon on Ginner then, especially if there's an incident then for the Mercedes driver. But so far Ginner is doing a great job then of powering on then on those 29 lap old medium compound tyres. What a stint it's been then from Ginner so far then. But yeah, the gap coming down now to Equaz, of course, then, who has pitted a few laps ago. Then Cam then is under pressure now from Coop, then from Vessia. Mushroom is 2.5 seconds behind then. Can Mushroom get himself in contention then for a P5 position then, or potentially P4 then with if Ginner's got to come in the pit lane? We'll have to wait and see. But at the moment it's looking like P5 at best then for Mushroom as it stands. But we'll find out what it's going to be then at the end of lap 44, of course. So Ginger Age then has dropped off, unfortunately. He's he's struggling on those hard compound tyres still. The only man still on the hard compound tyre, and Nigel was pit again then for a new set of tyres as well. But yes, the only man still on the hard compound tyre is Ginger Age. Then he's on 30 laps then at the end of this lap. On to lap 38 we go. And yes, what a stint. What a stint indeed. But Ginner's done 30 laps on the medium compound tyre. He's currently in P3, 10 seconds ahead of Equaz. We'll have a look at the penalty situation. He's got 12 seconds of penalties, though, unfortunately, for Ginner. So, unfortunately, it's not going to be working out in his favour mathematically then for a podium place then as it stands. Potentially, he can get himself a P4 position with the penalties then for Cam and for Coop and for Vessia. But we'll have to wait and see then. 1.7 seconds back to Mushroom. Then Mushroom is on a charge now as well then. Hopefully he can get himself back in contention for some more points paying positions, but both McLarens currently running in the top 10 as it stands, looking pretty good out there indeed. Kiki all over the back of Farf then as we head down towards Eau Rouge, and Radion once again then on lap 38. Had in front of him. What's that? I think that's a lap car then, thankfully. I thought that might have been an issue then for a Haas, but it wasn't New Zealand Can then. It was Nigel, I think, just getting out of the way then. Very sporting like then from Nigel as well then. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, says everyone then to Nigel, I'm sure. Right then, yellow flags, more yellow flags, I think, again for Nigel getting out of the way potentially of the Aston Martins then. Yeah, and unfortunately, like I said, we got a yellow flag. It's Ginner. Ginner's had an issue then. Has he got a puncture then? I think he might have had a puncture then in the Mercedes. Has he got himself back underway? Oh. Yeah, he's back underway then. Okay, so he's not got a puncture. Never mind, ignore me. So never mind. He might have had just a bit of a squirrely moment then out of the last right-hander then into sector 3. but back underway very quickly indeed then, unfortunately. But I think those tyres are done for at this stage of the race then. And Coop has got himself past Cam, has he? Yes, he has, then up into P5 now in the Williams, and powering then down towards the bus stop chicane. Then is Jenner coming in the pit lane? No, he's staying out once again. Then is Jenner 6 seconds, the gap back, the gap down to Equaz in P4. So Equaz, I think, will inherit the podium place then from the Mercedes driver. Then Coop in P5, 4 seconds behind. Here comes Cam, then he's just been passed by Coop then, but Ginger Age's got a 3-second penalty for corner cutting, or for multiple warnings, sorry. So that's going to be bad news indeed as well then for Ginger Age. Potentially then 2 seconds behind his Reflection. Then he's on 20 lap younger tyres than is Ginger Age, and there's all sorts of lapped cars there as well. Not quite sure what is going on between the lap cars, but there we are. Then here comes Cam then on the attack, then here comes Vessia as well, then side by side, 3 wide then through the Kennel Straight. And Vessia then has taken precedent indeed, then flying through there into P5 then in the Alpine. Brilliant stuff indeed. Very opportune move as well then from the Alpine driver, and he's taken P5 away from both Cam and Coop. And Cam has dropped down to P6, Coop down to P7 now. 1.6 seconds back is Mushroom then. He's gaining, but he's not gaining quickly enough then, I don't think, for Mushroom's liking then at this stage. Only 5 laps remaining at the end of this one as well then, so it's been an epic Belgian Grand Prix so far. And like I said, my voice has been absolutely destroyed then from lap 22, I think, pretty much, wasn't it? So yeah, fair play indeed then for all the drivers then, putting on a fantastic show here tonight as well then, here in Spa-Francorchamps. And so far it's been, like I said, an absolutely brilliant race with lots of action, lots of overtaking, even in the wet conditions at the beginning then. And they've got themselves through this brilliantly indeed as well. Then potentially we'll see some big points then being scored. Then we'll have to wait and see to the checkered flag, because I think there's going to be some issues potentially with Ginner's tyres. There's going to be some issues with the penalties that have been racking up then, especially in the wet conditions early on as well then. So it's going to be all to play for then, up to the checkered flag, up to the finish line then on lap 44 as we start off lap 40 then. 5 laps remaining of this Grand Prix here. Right then into, oh goodness me, into turn 1 we go. And Cam then is, like I said, trying to get himself back up into P5 now. Mushroom has joined the fight then. Mushroom has joined the fight as well then. So Mushroom now on the back of this train up the hill then, up Eau Rouge and Radion then. Here comes Cam then on the attack. Can he get himself past Vessia up into P5 then? Can Coop do the same thing as Vessia did on the previous lap? Not quite then. Cam then pulls away to stop giving the slipstream to the Williams driver then, but he's got himself up into P5, and Coop then takes P6 away from Vessia as well. Then Mushroom then is right behind us here. He has got the fresher tyres out of all of us, but he has only got 2 lap fresher tyres than Coop, then 3 lap fresher tyres than Vessia, and 5 lap fresher tyres than Cam as well. So it's not too much of an advantage, but it's going to be an advantage nonetheless, I would imagine. But how much of an advantage we will find out then. Oh dear, Ginger Age has ghosted. No, it's not Ghost. No, he's not him. It's a Red Bull then. Somebody else then. As here we go then into Pouillon now. And Reflection is caught up to Ginger Age now. So Reflection then is in P10 currently. So could take away that final point. Well, not that final points payment. The extra point from Ginger Age could go to Reflection instead. Let's just put it that way. As we go into lap 41 momentarily then. Right then, Reflection then is putting the pressure on them, but oh dear, it's gone a bit wide then. That would be a warning as well, potentially. If Reflection, we'll have a look at the penalty situation then, because 6 seconds for Reflection, but a 12 for Ginger Age then, unfortunately, would not be enough then for Ginger Age to hold on to the position. Then Coop and Cam and Vessia into the bus stop chicane. There's contact there as well then. Coop, oh god, there's Vessia's then is down the inside as well then. Mushroom then is waiting in the wings then. We'll switch off the penalties. Because here we go then in towards La Source then, and Coop then into P6, and he held on to P6, sorry, from Vessia for the time being then. Mushroom then is going to be all over the back of them as well here. He's only got 3 seconds of penalties then, but same for Coop, same for Cam, as we head up the hill then towards the Kemmel Straight once again then towards the DRS zone as we go through once again on lap 41 then. There's the fans then waving their hands as we see some action once again then, and Vessia takes P6 away from the Williams of Coop then in towards Lacombe. Then he's too far back to make the move. Oh my goodness me, Coop walks into the back of both of them there, and Serious Mushroom has snuck through all of that. Reflections past Ginger Age in the background. Cooper's gone back past. Cooper's gone off the circuit then. What's going on for Coop then? He's having all sorts of issues. No, he's teleported. Oh my goodness me. Right, okay, he lost out then to Mushroom, I think. Mushroom then is on much fresher tyres, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. Thankfully for Coop, whatever it was either my internet or his internet, but it sorted itself out, thankfully. Well, I hope it has, at least for the next few laps. Yeah, Coop then dropping down to P8 then, yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. I'm very unsure what's happening there, to be fair. But yeah, hopefully he is all sorted. R2 beats has the fastest lap of the race then on lap 42, and he's got 3 laps to go then in this Grand Prix. But he's definitely been conserving his tyres so far. Then Hungry Stars has passed Astra John then into P50. Has he? Yes, into P15 somehow. Good stuff indeed then. Ginger Age has got he needs to keep a 6-second gap then to Kiki to hold on to the final points paying position then. Can he do that for the next 3 laps then? He's got DRS then on reflection for the time being. Here come the quadrant as we battle then into La Source, and yes, my goodness me then is the only thing I can really say about this because it's going to get I think this is going to get very tense indeed then in the last couple of laps. We're on to lap 42 then. We've got the penultimate lap then and the final lap to go after this one as we cross over the top of the hill then once again. Then here comes Serious Mushroom then. He's under pressure from Coop though, and Coop trying to fight back then on the McLaren then into P7. He's back up into P7, and Versio has got himself past Cam as well then for P5. Yellow flags. What's going on for yellow flags? Nigel, I think, has lost his front wing again. So yeah, fair play to Nigel. He's soldiered on out there, yeah, I think he just needs to make sure that the race leaders don't get impacted then by his well, hopefully he's ghosting, so hopefully that's not an issue. But there we go then. Airquest then has caught up to Ginner then. Ginner has done a mammoth stint on those medium compound tyres, but it's just not working out then for the Mercedes driver, unfortunately. Then here tonight then it was worth a shot then, I think, but he's definitely lost out of the podium places now, and potentially could lose out to Vessier as well. Then Vessier is within the 6 seconds that he needs to be able to jump Ginner as well. Then with the penalty situation, then Cam could be in contention as well. Then so could Coop actually as well, and Mushroom. So unfortunately for Ginner, it is not going to be in his not working out in his favour. Then let's just put it that way. This longer stint, then I should say. 35 laps then on the medium compound tyres. Sorry, 35 laps now. What a stint it's been, let's just put it that way. Well, at least it's on a good bit of tyre testing, so there'll be very lots of data then for Mercedes to work on then in future races around here. Nigel back in the pit lane then for a wing change then, and a new set of boots then for Nigel. Fair play to for carrying on in this one. Equaz then I think will be lining up a move then onto the Camel Straight then very shortly then as we go up Eau Rouge and Radion and onto the Camel Straight now as well. And yeah, Equaz then I think will breeze through with some DRS then up into P3 into the podium places now, and trying to chase down the Aston Martins there. Here comes Vessier and Cam, and Cam back past Vessier then for P5. Into the pits comes Farf and Sick as Muck then go for the fastest lap point in this Grand Prix. Fair play to them then for carrying on to the end as well here. Ginger Age is holding on to the points paying positions then very nicely indeed. Then Kiki is not gaining enough on the McLaren then to take away that top 10 position then from Ginger Age, so it could be an extra point then. We'll wait and see then. Coop and Mushroom and Vess here and Cam, then these 5 then are going to get feisty I think in towards the end of the race. Unfortunately that is going to be the case. I think unfortunately it's going to be ending badly for some people if that's going to be the case as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Equaz then has got himself into P3 then. He's got himself past Ginner out, and Ginner is actually doing a good job of holding on to the Williams driver here, but unfortunately I think it's in a bit of vain now, as because of course he is not going to be able to hold on to the position. Then he's not going to be able to get himself back up into the position with the penalty situation that he's got as well. Then Coop and Vess are then switching places then into Blanchimont as we go through into the bus stop chicane. Then still fighting side by side. Then Williams has got the outside then for the first part of the corner, but it of course turns to the inside then for the second part, and on to the main straight we go then for the final lap. Then we'll have to come back to the battling then when we'll have to go switch over to the battling then. Oh my god, then down the inside then almost into the wall then on the exit then for Vessia, and Serious Mushroom is waiting in the wings then for this opportune moment as well then as we go down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion then in the McLaren. Then is he going to pounce then along the Camel Straight? Then there's going to be all sorts of action. Then Coop is going to have some DRS then on Cam. Then I don't think he's going to be close enough to be able to make the move then for P5 though, unfortunately then for for Coop. He could be under pressure from Vessia still as we go down towards the Lacombe chicane. Then Serious Mushroom is there as well, then into Lacombe, and it's all status quo as they all stay in the order that they were in before. Stuff indeed. Right then. I have to try and find out where the race leader is. The race leader is coming into the final sector now. We'll come back to him very quickly. We'll have a quick look at the quick scan of what's going on down here. And so far, so good then for this battling pack. Then they've done a fantastic job this race. R2Beat's done a fantastic job this race. Then 9 seconds the gap then to his closest challenger. Then as he comes across the bus stop chicane for the final time, then is R2Beat. And what a race it's been then for the Aston Martin driver. Then a fantastic performance there once again. Then here he comes up to the line. It's the fastest lap as well on the final lap, a 44.954 I think it was. What a race win indeed then from R2Beat. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Then his teammate Gordo claims a 1-2 then for Aston Martin here in Belgium. Brilliant stuff indeed from Gordo as well, with the mammoth stint then on the medium compound tyres. Wow, very well done indeed. Then in the background there is Ginna and there is Equaz crossing the line. Then P3 for Equaz. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Ginna P4 on track, but here come this battling pack as well once again then. So Ginna might be divided down the order a bit more as well then. New Zealand Cam P4, Coop P5, Serious Mushroom P6, Ginna P7, Vessia P8, then Reflection P9. Ginger Rage crosses the line in P10. Which is brilliant stuff indeed. Kiki then round the final corner then to claim a P11 here tonight then as well. Only 5 seconds off the top 10 in the end then with the penalty situation then. Farf and Sick as Muck then will finish P12 and 13 then Swanshank P14, Astrodron P15, Hungry Stars P16, Vintage P17 and Nigel in P18 as well then. But what a race it has been indeed then from all 18 drivers who've got to the checkered flag here tonight. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And what a race then from the Aston Martin pair then. R2Beat claiming the race win here once again then. Gordo in P2 then in the Aston Martin. Then Ginger Age has said yes because he has done 37 laps then on his hard compound tyres and he's got himself a point for it. Brilliant stuff indeed then. So fantastic. Then there are we'll run through the classification very shortly, but we'll have the podium celebrations then for 2 Aston Martins and a Williams then. Very good stuff indeed then. Of course, if Ginger Age can add the top 3 to the party, then that'd be brilliant stuff indeed. Oh, never mind, Farf's done it already. So good stuff. There we are then for R2Beat and for Gordo then claiming the podium places once again then. Williams then of Equaz in P3, and what a race then it has been here in Belgium then. Brilliant stuff indeed then. All race long I should say, pretty much then from lap 1 to lap 44 then was action galore. But there we are then. We'll run through the classification very shortly and hopefully get some interviews then with our top 3 drivers as well. That was a good race then, says the Aston Martin pair. Nice Gordo then, says R2Beat. Then you have to put me in the Sauber. I'm too quick, says Ginger Rage. All right, then we'll get that arranged. Brilliant stuff indeed. Right, hopefully we can have a look at the classification. Maybe not, but okay. Well, if somebody, can you screenshot the classification then whilst you're at it, and if somebody can see it, because I can't. But there we go then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Right then, we will hopefully get a quick glimpse of it or something, I suppose. No, are we going to get a glimpse of it or not? No. Okay. Oh. No, yeah, so yeah, right then. Hopefully somebody has got the classification because I didn't see any of it. So brilliant stuff indeed. That'll be making it very difficult indeed to do the graphics at the end of that one, but fantastic. We'll switch over to our hopefully to our podium interviews then as well. Then in that case, so we will have we'll start off with our race winner then R2Beat. Then R2Beat from what it looked like in that race, you were quite comfortable in that one as well. Can you tell us about it then from your perspective? Oh, he's only just joined us. Right, R2Beat then. What was that from what was the race like from your perspective? You look quite comfortable. Okay.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry.
So never mind then. Okay. Well,
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me now. Can you answer my question?
Yeah.
What is the race like from your point of view? And you seem quite comfortable. I'll say it 3 times and then hopefully.
Yeah. It was a bit hectic with the overtaking. It wasn't that clean, but yeah, it was fun. I had a good race, but could have been a bit nicer to my competitors. But
And
yeah, I
well, it was
think
quite a good battle indeed. Then with Ginner, then at the in that first stint, and then on the dry compound tyres, you kept it all together on the wets or on the intermediate, sorry, in the beginning, and maximise your chances. Then when it turned to the dry compound tyre later on, then and tell us about that first stint, and then the battling with the former pole sitter as well.
yeah, it was intense in the rain, and I drive in the cockpit view without any assist, so it's really intense. You need to find your braking spots, your throttle application, and stuff like that. So, but it makes it a lot of fun. So yeah, I really had a good evening again.
No worries, mate. And it was a fantastic race once again. Another race win for yourself and Aston Martin, and I think you closed the gap in the championship once again on Equaz in the end there as well. Then, so brilliant stuff indeed. Then from your point of view, I have to say, do you think you're thinking the same, or are you going to have a celebration tonight, or what are you going to do?
I always celebrate after the race, no matter the result. So, no, but good job on the other guys on the podium. Equas again, without any penalties. I think P3 again, so it's really hard to gain some points on him. So, yeah, well done, really.
Brilliant stuff indeed. And like I said, another race win for yourself and Aston Martin. Very well done to R2 Beat then on the top step tonight. Gordon then P2 in the end. A fantastic race from yourself as well. Then a 1-2 for Aston Martin. Were you working together as a team then in that first stint in the dry against Ginner, or were you just trying to race your own race? Brilliant stuff. Okay, thank you very much for Gordon then. P2 tonight then in the Aston Martin. Equaz P3 here tonight. Then Equaz in the Williams. You had a bit of a quiet race, I think, in that one, but again in the end ended up with another podium for yourself. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Or is there something more to come then from that race that you think?
Hey, great race, everyone. These two, Gordo and Beat, unstoppable at the moment. It's hard to keep up pace with them. I messed up strategy-wise. I probably should have went mediums. I was thinking long term. I thought that the hards would be able to stay with these guys, but with the track getting, it still had a bit of moisture in it, I suppose. So the hards just weren't able to kick in. So these two, well, I think there's quite a few. There's Ginner as well, who took off, and I just had no answers.
Well, it was definitely the right strategy in the end, and to pit then, because I think we saw what happened with Ginner's point of view. To be fair, Ginger Age did get himself a point as well then in McLaren then for going the whole distance then on the one set of dry compound tyres, but it was definitely the right call. You made the call quite early then to pit, I think, along with Gordo as well, and it really promoted you, well, both promoted you back up into the podium places at the end of the race as well there, so it worked out in your favour, it looks like.
Yeah, I wanted to pit a bit sooner, but I was really debating if I should just stay out on the hards. But seeing that the pit stop was quite a short one here, I could see that when R2B had pitted, he was already gaining on me. He was very close, even though I think he was only about 8 seconds ahead at that point or something. So I knew I had to pit. Maybe I should have pitted sooner, but I was in two minds whether to stay out or not. But I knew I had to pit though.
Well, it worked out in your favour for sure. Then for another podium. Then of course, still now in a championship fight with these two as well in the interviews as well. These two Aston Martins are putting up a bit of a fight then for the top spot in the championship now as well. But I think you keep hold of the top spot, don't you, tonight? Mathematically, I can't do the maths in my head. But yeah, you've done a great job here still in Belgium then, and going on to where is it, Zandvoort next week as well. Then so we'll wait and see how it all plays out. And we will see you all next week then for another 100% race. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then, of course, the Belgian Grand Prix is going to be kicking off on Sunday night for gold then as well for 50% of that. Same for silver on Monday and bronze on Tuesday before we get ourselves into Zandvoort in a week's time for the 100% league as well. So stay tuned.
Is this working now?
Plenty more coming up, and we'll catch you very soon.